The long weekend of IMSA and the World Endurance Championship is coming up. Both of those series take on the challenge of Sebring with WEC's 1,000 kilometer race and IMSA with their own 12-hour event. But before all that, we host our own 12 hours of Sebring, and we're now hosting a mini endurance race along with that too, with Studio 397 and rFactor 2's exquisite GT3 cars, as we welcome you to the Sebring International Circuit located in Florida in the United States of America, which hosts the Prelude 3 hours of Sebring, with all coverage today on Studio 397's YouTube channel, as well as rFactor Live at Twitch TV, around the 5.9 kilometer, 3.7 miles circuit of Sebring. It's a clockwise layout you'll see today, of course, as well. Very bumpy in nature. 17 turns out there to challenge the drivers. 6 of those to the left, the other 11 to the right. It will challenge the drivers, as we said, for 3 hours of racing action, as the race title suggests, or 180 minutes, depending on your units of choice. Very minimal elevation change around here, but beautiful, clear, sunny skies for racing action up ahead. Good afternoon, everybody. Jonathan Simon on hand in the commentary booth, alongside Stefan Schlacker here today. And Stefan, can I bring it to you first about this circuit? We spoke about the bumpiness of Sebring, but there's plenty of other challenges around this circuit, and it's why it's one of the most anticipated venues out there for endurance racing in the modern day.
Yeah, as you said, also, first of all, hi from me there in the commentary booth. And as you said, it is incredibly anticipated. And apart from the bumps, we have the problem, it's very narrow. It's one of the most narrowest circuits that we have that actually has a FIA Grade 1 rating. So that's a problem. The bumps, we have high speed coupled with low speed turns. So setup-wise, that challenge you already to. And then the competitors, everything super high on that stage. There's a lot of stake here, about which we're going to talk very soon. So nerves, they're going to play a big role here today too.
Exactly. We're currently in qualifying, so plenty of time left in this session, just over 16 minutes remaining. We'll track that as the session progresses, but no competitive lap times set for the moment. But Stefan talked about setup being a challenge. What about the overtaking spots here today? There are a few out there on the circuit. I know turn 1 brings a good opportunity for the drivers, but possibly a look into the hairpin as well at turn 7 after Gurney Bend.
Yeah, you said at turn 1, but you have to be careful about the counter that someone can do into turn 3, then obviously the hairpin. Cunningham, turn 10, that's a thing where you can do tower, turn 13. If you're brave, you can get a good run through 11 and 12, and we also not have to forget about Sunset Bend, because you can do something there, especially with all the different lines that we're gonna see today there, because you're not driving there for the fastest line, but for the least bumpiest line.
Yeah, exactly, and Sunset Bend, of course, as well. It's where the speed trap of this circuit takes place, just in the braking zone. Drivers will scream up just below 300 kilometers an hour, and it's a very optimistic overtaking spot, but realistic indeed, as we see the lap times finally start to come in for the first time today, and a 1 minute 58.6 for Andika Rama Maulana heads the timing so far, and it will seem like the track should come to these drivers as this session progresses, Stefan. I think that's something that where these lap times will start to creep down, of course, in the next few minutes for sure.
Yeah, we're especially at the end, we're probably gonna see every car out on track trying to set in that pole position lap, but you also have to be careful, because especially in the middle, it will, go down the track density, it will go down, and that's maybe where we're gonna see the fastest time being set, because at the end, we're gonna see pretty much everyone back on the track again.
Yeah, so currently looking at Nico Barclay on screen. Nico's got a lot of traffic now up ahead of him, of course, as well. Traffic an issue as well, something we didn't expect with, I mean, there are almost 40 drivers out there on the circuit, currently 39 racing, so I guess that's something that's going to come into play, Stefan. Anything you can manage? You're quite an experienced driver.
Yeah, the traffic management will be key, obviously. you're gonna see probably some stretches develop because of the traffic, especially when someone spins and then being held up behind a slower car further down the pack. So we're gonna see something there. And as I said, it is the narrowest track that has a FIA Grade A license. So we might see some people get a tiny bit hectic if they're behind a slow car.
And I love the beautiful track map on screen at the top right as well, of course, so you can follow the drivers out there throughout the event. You know what, though, Stefan? When looking at that track map, it looks completely different to what I expected Sebring to look like. It compared to the track map I'm looking at right now on my screen. That one on screen just, I think it brings the circuit to life, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's not the normal position that you would see a track map of Sebring normally at, but one thing that shows us, we're right now here with Nico Boldi. He just crossed the start-finish line. But if we take a look at first place, he's right now going towards Cunningham, and there's nobody even anywhere close to him. Everyone is right now the turn 3 to turn 17 area.
So just waiting to see if these lap times creep down, and they are for the moment in qualifying with just 12 minutes remaining. Ruben Correa Alves crosses the line with a 1 minute 58.524 and currently heads the timing screen. So qualifying, how important is it, Stefan, to a 3-hour event? These guys have plenty of time in the race to make up positions.
It's the thing. Qualifying, you might say to yourself, it's not that important, but it always is. It doesn't matter how long there is, 24 hours, 72 hours, 3 hours, 45 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, it doesn't matter. Qualifying is an important part because it's gonna be the ground stone of how you're gonna play out your strategy later down the road in the race.
Just following Heikki Kolvenbach at the moment, who... Kolvenbach, Stefan, or Kolvenbach? You're German. You can help me pronounce that. Kolvenbach?
Kolvenbach.
Yeah, I got close. You got to give me credit for that. He's coming across the line right now. And will begin a lap as far as I know. And let's talk us through this lap, Stefan, right now. He heads towards turn 1. Very blind braking zone. Very difficult to pick a braking point. But this is where the circuit starts to narrow through the first sector.
Yeah, and here we have the narrowest part of the track right now, going through turn 3, 4, the very tight complex, very bumpy, especially on the turn-ins and brakings. And now he goes to Gurney Bend, the second fastest part of this racetrack here, coming up to turn 7, the hairpin, the hardest braking zone of this track, under the mobile bridge, braking very, very late there, just now on the brakes, and goes in at the apex, perfect there.
Through the rest of the lap here for Kolvenbach. He's got the driver of Devin Braun up in front, who's in the 9th position. And I don't think they're going to impede Heikko's lap too much. They now head towards the middle sector of the racetrack. Just misses the apex slightly there through turn 10. Now through 11, the tight left-hander. And this is where the braking zone starts to angle. It's really difficult to straight line the car through Tower at turn 13. On the exit as well, just a slight touch of the gravel. The sim will allow that. Won't get any track cuts, of course, for the moment. And then the difficult final real few corners here of Bishop. Le Mans coming up, of course, as well. He's trying to push to the limit, Kolvenbach. You cannot use as wide of a line as you might think through Le Mans. And now here's the long straight, the Ullman straight. They're going to scream up to just under 300 kilometers an hour. He's got Sunset Bend coming up. Kolvenbach will hopefully climb a few positions. He's got 3 tenths to make up, Stefan, until he can hopefully claim provisional pole.
Well, he had some very good... Oh, he spins out there, but he had some very good draft there from Devin Braun in front of him, so it might have been actually a very good lap there.
And maybe that's why, that might be one of the reasons why he lost control at the final corner. Carried a bit more speed than he expected, but nevertheless... he'll have to make up for that lap later on and make amends for it. He's out of the pits already. Other drivers out there, we're currently looking at the driver of Lorenzo Arisi. Arisi, who practicing quite hard before the race. Only P18 for the moment off the racetrack is Arisi right now. And Definitely going to lose a lot of time from that. You know how tight this racetrack is, Stefan? I feel like, as Risi needs to be careful. He doesn't get in the way of other drivers. I think it might be even more difficult in qualifying than it is in the race, because in qualifying, you're really trying to push to the limit, the off tracks, everything else coming to play. You don't want to scream off into the barriers like Arisi almost did there and cost yourself lap time. You don't build that rhythm with 8 minutes to go.
No, and there's one more factor that especially comes into play in qualifying. Nearly every corner on the exit, it's hanging away from you, especially Tower. Tower is so incredibly tricky because it's hanging off so much. It's really extreme because you also have the camber change from helping you to incredibly falling away from you. And if you get it wrong or carry a tiny bit too much speed or slip angle through that turn, you are gonna be really in trouble.
Exactly. So, right now, Arne Schoenvliet is in provisional pole with a 1 minute 58.1. I'm just having a look at the timing screens update as they continue. So these times are going to creep down. We'll hopefully get into the 57s. I think 1 minute 56 might be quite optimistic, but looking at drivers such as Jone Simoncic down the field, Jordi Zuyas, Nico Barclay as well to improve their lap times. Arisi's through the first sector, having a look at him, and he is not in rhythm so far for the moment. Schoenvliet, though, we're just looking at on screen. We've switched now to Arisi, who is going through this first sector, heading towards the hairpin at turn 7, picking the braking markers here. Brakes at the first available board there, and seems to pick up the throttle well on the exit here. So the lap is starting to come to Arisi, and that rhythm being start to build.
Yeah, most definitely. He's looking really strong so far, so it's gonna be interesting what he's gonna be able to do here in this Callaway Corvette. As he comes, where is he now? That should be Cunningham? Yes, indeed, that's Cunningham right there, turn 10. And there he comes now to the very, very challenging tower, even though it doesn't look as much, but this turn incredibly hard. He even went very wide there on the apex, costing him a lot of time.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be doing that for sure. But this traffic is starting to annoy me in the booth. I'm getting frustrated watching this. Heads towards Le Mans right now. And Tararana tries to get out of the way, but Arisi wants all the slipstream he can obtain here through Sunset Bend. Now you have to be careful. That increases your top speed more than you'd expect heading into the braking zone. Search for that brake marker on the left-hand side. Throw the car into the final corner. Just slight bit of oversteer, and he corrects it. But Arisi on the exit right now should be capable of improving his lap time. We'll have a look and see as he crosses the line. Lorenzo Arisi, P23, still 23rd, so no improvement there for Arisi. Rest of the drivers will come through as well. Arisi's been dropping down. How about Ruben Correa Alves in the 3rd position? He's coming out of the pits, so nothing will go for Alves. We're looking at Pim van Ark at the moment, who's in P5. Pim van Ark has got Offerman's up in front, up towards turn 7 at the moment. Let's see if Van Ark can provide some spectacular action here in these closing minutes.
Well, he is right now in a good position. As you can see on your track map, he has someone in front of him. That's 30th place. That is Marcel Offermans. But he's gonna be getting some nice draft from him when he goes down the straight. So that's gonna be interesting what he will be able to do with the draft on Almond Street.
Yeah, it's gonna be important. For Van Mark, he needs, 1/10 quicker, he'll jump into the top 3, onto that second row to start the race. But, well, not really a row, because we'll have quite an easy formation lap here, single file, I'm pretty sure. So Van Ark will at least climb a few positions. Schoenvliet, though, is in the pits, comfortable with that pole position time. Surely he'll be out there as well, just trying to improve. Van Ark has backed off this lap, Stefan, and it looks like he's going to go for it next time round. Doesn't have much time remaining, only 4 minutes.
Yeah, he saw that he's not on a good lap, so he backed off, got himself some more room there in front of him, because he was really getting close to the guys in front. And yeah, Pim, let's see what you got on this lap. I'm gonna be really intrigued by what he can do. He's right now 0.425 seconds off Arne Schönfleet, who is still in first, about 3/10 ahead of second.
And in these closing minutes, when you look at the track map at the top right-hand side of the screen, there isn't much clear track available. So for these drivers trying to search for some clear air out there to get a good clean lap in, it looks like they might not even get it. So sometimes we'll see. This might even come down to luck at the end of the day.
Yeah, as dense the traffic right now is, it might come down to luck. How is your position to the car in front? Who is your car in front? And how close do you get to the car in front coming down into turn 17 Sunset Bend? So a lot of factors play into your time and if you're able to improve.
So Heiko Colvin back. We were looking at him on screen. We've switched to the driver there of Andika Rama Maulana, who, where are they right now? They're a country mile off the racetrack in that Porsche, coming through Sunset Bend. Now beginning a lap here. They just wanted to get the best run possible across the line. They've got a good chance at pole position. And here they are right now with a couple cars there on screen just exiting the pits. They're not going to get it in the way of Andika. Oh, sliding pretty heavily through turn 1. That's not the quickest way around there. Now here's the bumpy braking zone of turn 3 coming up, the left-hander. Curb usage, how important is it, Stefan, at this racetrack?
Incredibly important, because they're so big, you can really embiggen your track space that you have available. So if you are able to set your car up nice enough to go over those curbs, you can get a lot of track space out of it.
Through turn 7, the hairpin, not a complete 180-degree hairpin, but it still classifies nevertheless. Maulana right now 3/10 behind potentially a pole position. Under 2 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. If you are not out of the pits right now, you probably won't squeeze another lap in. So any drivers currently finding themselves in the pits, such as Nico Barclay, their day is done. Along with Bart DeVos, they will not get another lap time in for sure. Matthew De Krupp as well is into the pits. Their day is done. They will start no greater than P6. But how about Maulana right now through these final few corners?
Yeah, that Porsche is screaming its way through the last few turns here in the Le Mans complex. Or it actually has a new name now. It's now called Genebienne Bend. So yeah, now on Aumann Straight, the second last or last straight, however you want to view it. If you want to go with the start line or the finish line, and now going into Sunset Bend, cutting it very close there with the first apex, and then very wide on the second one, and really cutting in back. And yeah, great line so far from Andika. What can he do? Can he challenge Arne Schönfleet? He's right now 2 times behind, and that's a no.
Nope, no lap time challenge there from Maulana. 1 minute 58.7. Their day is done. They won't start greater than that second position. Anybody else coming through the field? How about Alves? Whoa, look at the improvement from Simončić. Just gets ahead in the second position. 6 thousandths of a second ahead of Maulana. So Simončić, and of course as well, Jurne has another lap here, of course, but he has traffic up ahead, which could cost him. So maybe that is it for Simončić. Here the team will start no greater than second. Who knows? How about Correa Alves right now through the final corner? Didn't brush the wall as close as Maulana did.
Oh,
but
there's
through the
wreck
final
in front.
corner now.
He's gonna have to avoid that.
Yeah, you're right there, Stefan. And he avoids it, but it's not a quick lap time at all. No lap time registered, actually. So he might have even cut the track for the moment. But Correa Alves will start no greater than fourth. Here's De Krupp on screen. De Krupp obviously not in the session. We switch to the driver of Daniele Canestracci.
Yeah, it's Ruben obviously has another lap in his tank, so he's gonna do that. And looking at our contenders right now, Erhan Yayovsky, where is he coming from? Going into second, just
Great lap time.
400th faster than Janne Simončić. As I just want to talk, especially Arne, Janne, and so of the top 5, only Ruben has a clear track in front of him. Everyone else was held up as Arne Schönfleet just did decide to park his car into the pit lane. So only Jarne and Ruben of the top 5 are still in contention to get that first place away from Arne.
Yeah, a couple other drivers out there on track, but I don't think they're going to be quick enough to climb into P1. Surprise us, fellas. Who knows? As Simoncic is now on the Ullman Straight. Now, remember, he did have traffic as we saw him across the line earlier on. This is oversteer corner is Sunset Bend, but Simoncic looks stable. Did he clip the wall? It was awfully close as well. He's going to pull into the pits. Day done for Simoncic in qualifying.
That was a yes from Jarne. He went really close there to that wall. So yeah, his day in the qualifying is done, and now of the top 5, only Ruben Carreras Alves is still out there. He has the least laps driven in this qualifying session of the top 5 right now, even of the top 10. He has driven the least laps in this qualifying, so let's see what he can do in his, he's going to pit lane.
Yeah, he, I don't know if he didn't get Sunset Bend correct or if he just wanted to pull into the pit lane nevertheless, but that is it for him. Nizio across the line as well. He's currently in P15. And none of these drivers are improving, so we thought the track conditions would help towards the end of the 20-minute session, but it seems that is it for qualifying for the prelude. 3 hours of Sebring.
Not quite yet, because we still have Felix Antoine Forteur in his Aston in last turn, as I think he's continuing. Look at that. Let's see if he can improve from 20th right now. He is 19th behind first and doesn't improve. Yeah, wait, he did, but not in position.
No, exactly. So you'll start no greater than the 20th position. So that will mean Arne Schönfleet will take pole position for this race, along with Ohan Jadowski and Jarne Simoncic in P3. Now, don't forget, the big announcement we want to make is the fact that the 12-hour race will take place on the 23rd of March. It will have prize money along with other prizes, of course, as well. The race will include big-name talent vying for glory around Sebring. And, of course, Stefan, the top 3 from this event will gain access to that 12-hour race later on in March.
Yeah, and those 3, we saw like the top 25 or something like that within 1 second of pole position. So our race here, it will be very, very intense because we have so many cars within such a short time span. And those top 3, you know that they're gonna be fought out till the bitter end.
So the rest of the results on screen, as you can see, of course, as well, and very competitive in terms of lap times there as well. Most of the drivers in that 2-minute range, just a couple not being able to get under the barrier there, of course, as well. But Schönfleet with a very impressive low 1 minute 58. Whether they could replicate that in a race is a different question in itself. So 3 hours of racing coming up, Stefan. We're going to have a rolling start, of course, as well. You nervous when it comes to rolling starts? I'm a lot nervous with the standing starts. I'm a little bit less experienced when it comes to those rolling starts.
It's the starts in general. I have done so many endurance races. I have raced so many races, and it's always that anxiety. It's a chance for something great. A start always is, and I'm always getting nervous. It's not the, oh my god, I'm gonna panic, but let's do this. That is just the best feeling in the world that you can have, coming to the start and preparing for something great.
Exactly, and thanks to all of you as well joining us on Studio 397's YouTube channel, as well as rFactor Live to Twitch TV, of course. Send in your questions, send in your comments, like, share the broadcast, do whatever you got to do. Join in to the discussion. We are a very proud commentary team, as well as a broadcast team here behind the scenes, ready to join in the discussion, of course, as well. So, Stefan, come with this race in a few moments' time. If you had to enter this event, which of these GT3 cars would you be driving in? So many choices.
It's exactly. We have 10 cars to choose from, of which we have 7 cars in this race. So, it really shows how well balanced these 10 cars are. Um, and I'm a bit, I really do like the BMW, but I would have probably chosen the Audi.
Oh, the Audi. It's a nice looking car, though. Every time I look
Yeah.
at the Audi as well, it almost reminds me of the Bugatti Veyron. It looks very big and heavy. It looks similar.
Yeah, it's probably the one car I'm missing, the Lamborghini. Not because it's so dominant in GT3 racing, but only because it's driven by an Austrian team, and I'm Austrian, so I'm always rooting for them.
Ah, I like it. I'm just trying to find out who is the person driving the Audi here today. I can't see anyone for the moment. Can you spot anybody? I see a lot of McLarens.
We have about 8 Audis in this race, so as one of the Porsches driving out, and an Aston Martin. So the drivers just had their briefing. That's why we didn't see any on-track action. So that briefing is now done, and they're all driving out on their warm-up. Still about 6 minutes left till the end of this warm-up session.
Yeah, exactly. So warm-up will be over. Then 3 hours of racing action will take place, of course, as well. So it'll be, get settled in your seats, get cozy, and enjoy the action, of course, as well. These drivers just going through all their safety briefings and everything. And Jimmy Allison behind the scenes as race director, just sort of controlling the field a little bit more. But these warm-up stages, it's actually a very valuable time. I think a lot of drivers forget how critical warm-up is. You put the fuel in the car, you get into rhythm right now. I never look at lap time when I warm up. I just try to get a good feel for the car and make sure I'm not making mistakes. I guess that's what these drivers need to probably focus on.
Yeah, it's as you said, especially in a setup like this, qualifying, then the warm-up, then the race. You come from the qualifying, you're in full attack mode. You don't care about off-tracks, you don't care if you crash the car, you just want to get that fastest lap possible out of your setup, your capabilities. So, and now you suddenly go onto the car, full fuel load, probably even a different tire set, and the car is gonna feel so much different, so you really have to adapt back to that and to get used to that, and that's why warm-up is actually so crucial to the race, because being too aggressive because you just jumped in from qualifying, it's gonna end your race super quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Plenty of racing today. 3 hours. Endurance racing, it's always a different beast in itself compared to your sprint races, your Grand Prix series races, everything of the liking. As the drivers we see now finally heading out on track, as we look at Mark Viet, who is scored in the 23rd position. He's in that number 23 car, of course. Well, he's 23rd actually, and overshoots the hairpin just a little bit, Mark Viet. So starting down the order is one thing in itself, Stefan. That's something where is it critical to make up positions in these early laps? I mean, it is the easiest time of the race to do so.
As you said, it's the easiest, so it might as well be crucial to do so. Especially if you're one of those guys that aren't that good in qualifying, but are really great in the race. So you're gonna qualify race pace wise lower down than what you should be race pace wise. So these guys are gonna look to make a lot of moves very early so that they can get up to where they feel they belong.
Looking at David Mojek on screen through the Ulmann straight right now. He's in that nice Zach Speed McLaren. The thing, we you know what we have to do later today, Stefan, is pick out best livery of the day. That's something we need to vote on for the next 3 hours. Maybe that's something that the viewers and the audience can get in on in the next 3 hours, as we see one of the Porsches just pulling out of the pit entry at the last minute, almost getting in the way of David.
Yeah, probably it might even get you on like tweet to us what is your most favorite livery of this race. And yeah, it's probably gonna be very hard to decide on a livery that we like here.
Yeah. So track map still up on screen, just over 2 minutes remaining as well. We're looking at Antonia. Look at that beautiful overlay at the bottom of the screen. You can track everybody racing here today, of course, as well. Their team, number, position, of course, as well, in black. And any questions, of course, as well, as we said, file them away on YouTube or Twitch TV. Thanks for joining us, of course, as well. Strategy here today, of course. The only rule that really limits these teams is the fact that a driver needs to run. Well, they can only run a maximum of 70% of the race, but there has to be at least a driver swap involved, of course, as well.
Yeah, they are forced to have a driver swap, but only 2 drivers are allowed to race. So that's gonna be interesting. How are you gonna play that out, especially if you have like a little bit of a skill gap between your drivers? So who or when are you gonna use that second driver? Because kind of look at it as a Blancpain GT, where they have a pro and an AM driver, kind of like that. Where are you gonna use that second driver, and especially how are you gonna use them? Because it is very important, because you're never gonna have 2 drivers that are exactly the same pace.
Yeah. That's one thing you need to look out for, of course, as well. And we made the announcement earlier about the 12 hours of Sebring coming up. So that will be on the 23rd of March. That's a big announcement we wanted to make here. And that, of course, as well, will be... Where is my notes right now? I've lost my notes for a second here, Stefan. Here we go. Be on the 23rd of March, have big prizes. Money involved, of course, as well for those racing. The top 3 from this race at the end of the day will gain access or gain entry into that event, of course, as well. It's like a free pass. So congrats to whoever the top 3 will be at the end of this event, of course, as well. That 12-hour event will be a diverse field of invitations and qualifiers and teams that qualify for the competition. So more info is available on Facebook, Discord, everywhere else, of course, as well.
One thing we're not allowed to forget, it will also be WEC style race, not with LMP1s, but LMP2, GT, and GT3, if I remember correctly. So yeah, it's gonna be, this race is gonna be really awesome, and then you have the 12 hours, and that's gonna be even more awesome.
100%. Looking forward to it. Warm up is over, and the 3-hour event is coming up in just a few moments' time. It'll be a single file formation lap. Any tips for this race as well? Schoonvliet looks ultra fast in qualifying. Didn't set a warm-up lap, but really looking forward to see what ARM can produce during the race. I'm a big fan of Simon Chich, was a teammate of mine many, many years ago. I'm going to have just a soft spot for him and see if he and the team can actually produce some good results.
Well, it's gonna be very hard to pick someone, because we saw such a small gap between all the cars in this race, so it might be a free-for-all for the win here.
So formation lap to begin. Schoonvliet will start from the first position. Jajovski in second. Simonchich in third. The rest of your top 5 includes Andika, Rama, Mawalana, and Ruben Correa Alves. Rest of the grid will be on screen, of course, as well. You'll see cycle through. So this will not be the start of the event, of course, as well. The drivers will start to form up. Jimmy Allison will call the beginning of the race. There's always a mix-up. You get nervous when you hear those lights, Stefan, but it's an unofficial start here.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, because you start in the starting grid, so you hear those horns, and then, oh my god, what, this is supposed to be a rolling start, and oh yeah, right, it's always Darmstadt.
Yeah, so going very slow though on this formation lap, but it gives us time to go through the rest of your top 10. That includes Pim van Ark in P6, Matteo De Krop in 7th, and Daniele Canestracci, Yimi Nisula, and Tim Neuendorf in the 10th position. 40 drivers now out there and registered on track, which is what we love to see. That's going to mean chaos, Stefan, and that's going to mean a lot of traffic in the early stages.
Yeah, and hopefully also a lot of fighting throughout the pack, throughout the race, because with 40 cars, we are pretty much guaranteed for a great race.
So results still on screen. Mike Bell starting from 35th, the first driver outside your 2-minute range. Almost 250 viewers live at the moment on YouTube alone. It's good to see so many people out there on the racetrack, of course, as well. Such a beautiful sight with all these GT3 cars, plenty of liveries, plenty of teams, plenty of nations represented as they head towards turn 7. So during the race, of course, as well, we'll have the track map at the top right-hand side of the screen, of course, as well. It'll be a 3-hour event. Well, just under 3 hours, of course, once the green flag waves. The field will cycle through at the bottom end of the screen and join us in conversation for both myself, Jonathan Simon, and Stefan Schlacker in the commentary booth. We'll answer any questions. So join in the discussion, whether you're on Twitch or YouTube alone. We'll have a look at those when we can, of course, as well. But the racing action is obviously going to take precedence for now. Simoncic in third. You know, I know Simoncic too well, Stefan. At the start here, he's going to get a good getaway. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to be poised. He's a real professional. I really like his chances here at the start.
Yeah, you just have to be careful that you're not gonna get caught out on the start. Obviously, you're gonna have Arne control the field to the green flag, and then Erhan, he is the first guy who has to really be careful of getting caught out, because that third place of Jenny, he's gonna be right on your taillights in just a matter of milliseconds.
Through Le Mans we go. What did you call it? I can't pronounce it. Such a wacky name, a new name.
Oh, it's a Chenebien bend.
Is that French?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I should know my French. My surname's French, but I don't. I only know basic French, but it's all good. We're coming through the Ullmann Strait, which is a lot easier for me to pronounce because it's English. Yeah.
It's named after Olivier Chenebien, Belgian race driver.
Oh yeah.
Like pretty much any other turn apart from Saint-Sepin, Tower and Cunningham are not race drivers.
So one more corner to go, and then the green flag will wave for 3 hours of racing action coming up, or 180 minutes, depending on your units of choice. Schoonvliet will wait for that green flag to wave. The field starting to get tighter, starting to form up for this single file start.
Yeah, especially those top 6 super tight together right now. But here we come now to the green flag.
Schoonvliet ready. Green flag about to wave. In just a moment's time for sure. Here we go, green for the 3 hours of Sebring.
And to his side, Ori side by side, Ruben and Andika, they're side by side, Aston and Porsche drivers. And Ruben catches out Andika and goes into 4th position, but now Pim, he's also going to be able to take advantage here at Andika after this turn 2. That was very close between Andika and Ruben.
There was certainly a touch there between Correa Alves and Ramo Maulana as well. Alves has gotten this first sector all wonky right now, but for Pim Van Mark, incredible aggression, wasn't able to make up for position. What a great jump it was from Ruben Correa Alves, who now climbs themselves into the 4th position. May have even touched Simoncic into that first sector, who knows. They head into the first hairpin for the first time this afternoon. Schoonvliet still leads ahead of Yayovsky.
Yeah, and everything very civilized. Not a single incident we had in this starting lap so far. So fingers crossed that's going to stay like this.
And look at this battle here for P10 between Nico Barclay and Jordi Zuyas. Zuyas swerving all over the racetrack, heading into that turn 10 braking zone. Now into turn 13. Tower coming up the 90-degree right-hander. Zuyas has to concede that fight and will remain in the 11th position. Your lead battle, the top 2 have spread out from Simoncic. Correa Alves looks racy and looks speedy in these early stages.
Yeah, and Jerne, it seems like that he's holding up quite a pack there. So we're having here forming up the Jerne train already just after 16 turns. So yeah, that's 5 cars right in behind his rear wing there.
Look at the slipstream advantage here for Correa Alves. Will Simoncic go defensive? Yes, he does. Defends the inside line. Correa Alves has to be careful right now because Maulana is close. Oh, almost contact between the two of them. Here's Pim van Mark as well, ready to pick up the pieces. At the end of the first lap, though, it's Schoonvliet who leads ahead of Yayovsky. Your battle between P3 and P6 still continues as they're alongside each other here. For P5, that's Maulana and Van Ark. Van Ark cannot make up any positions in these early laps.
No, it seems like that his car needs to be a bit, very close there again. Needs a bit to warm up after this Code 80 pretty much lap there that they have under formation. But yeah, Pim, he's really looking aggressive and also at the same time very safe about his passing opportunities.
Possibly into the hairpin. That was an overtaking spot you described, Stefan, earlier. Van Ark. Wow, screams into the braking zone. The crop goes too heavy right there, of course, as well. And now Canestracci.
Oh, another one.
Oh, goodness. So it's created a sort of domino effect, and Van Ark won't be pleased with that, of course, as well. Rejoins the racetrack quite angrily, too. And it was an incident that could have easily have been avoided.
Yeah, and he nearly went 3 wide there, now 2 again into Cunningham as they went 3 wide ahead of him. And yeah, very unfortunate there for Pim van Ark, just getting caught out there in the hairpin.
An incident that could have easily have been avoided, of course, as well. And that's something where I've been watching this, Stefan, in these early laps where people are getting a bit optimistic under braking, and it's just costing them that extra bit of just sort of race of attrition. We don't want this to end in a race of attrition, of course.
Yeah, of course. And on rFactor 2, you have the cold brakes. The cold brakes, they're going to take 1 lap, 2 laps to warm up, but these brakes should be warm already. So yeah, these guys just hyper aggressive on the brakes without no good reason so far.
Back to your top 5. Maulana is getting close right now to Correa Alves across the main straight. We end another lap here for the prelude 3 hours of Sebring. Simoncic, though, that train we discussed at the front, do you think he's holding up a train, or is it too early to call?
I don't know.
It's a small train.
It does seem like, well, it was a bigger train until we saw the unfortunate incident with Pim. But it does seem like that he's just not able to especially get with the top 2. It kind of looks like that Ruben can go faster than Yene, but yeah, only in certain corners. So we will have to monitor this situation and see what happens.
Well, I'll tell you what, though. Nevertheless, Correa Alves looks the most racy out of the field right now, and possibly the quickest, depending on how quick he can dispose of Yone Simoncic in front. How about here at turn 10? Nope. Thinks better of it, does Correa Alves. And lives for another day, of course, as well. Back behind in the order, Nico Barclay in P8. Trying to find a way past Mathieu De Crop. De Crop, one of the drivers who, of course, accidentally, we'll say, hit into the back of Pim van Ark. And Van Ark right now is into the pits, currently off the racetrack, and not when Van Ark wanted to do, of course, as well for his start of the race. But De Crop and Barclay still in that scrap here, heading towards Le Mans.
Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting now. Can Nico take the advantage of his 720S over the R8 and do something here into Sunset Bend? Let's have a look. He's getting closer and closer and closer. Will it be enough? He goes to the right side. The block comes in there from Mathieu. A bit late for my likings, but nonetheless, Nico tries to go around the outside and outbrakes him slightly, but now Jimin Insula, he's on the inside here. Oh, that was very close.
Nisula keeps it together. Whoa, you couldn't split anything between the two cars right now, but how about Tim Neunendorf? He backs off the throttle just by a touch here, heading into the turn 1 braking zone. Such a difficult corner is turn 1 at Sebring. The long radius left-hander. Track starts to tighten here through the first sector. Nisula looks good, looks racy. Barclay's under pressure and looks erratic, and that's going to give all the confidence to Yemi Nisula here, heading into turn 7.
Yeah, and once again, it's a tiny little bit of a train here. Sorry, behind Mathieu, but he is getting closer and closer. Only ever so slightly, but he is getting closer to Canistrasi, right in front of him.
So Nunendorf in P10. Does he need to be aggressive, or should he wait for the drivers up ahead here to just sort of run into each other and make mistakes? Because he's got the likes of Jordi Zuyas behind, pushing aggressively, also trying to attack him, along with Colburn back. Beavis is close behind. This field hasn't spread out as much as it has in these first 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's with Tim, it's kind of interesting because he has the 3 cars in front of him, but he also has 3-4 cars behind him. So I would, in my opinion, I would right now just sit back, relax, maybe save some fuel, and if someone from behind wants to attack him, just let him by, let him do his stuff, and just sit back, relax, and take advantage of the mistakes the others make. So we have a side-by-side there for P3 again against Jerne and Ruben. Ruben trying to do it around the outside into Sunset Bend, but to no success once again. But now he gets a good run out of Sunset Bend. Can he do something into turn 1? Let's have a look.
Simoncic is pretty robust in terms of defending and defensive driving right now, but he's put offline heading into turn 3 for the moment. This is a section of the racetrack that's easy to defend. It's so narrow, as we've constantly said throughout the early portions of this event right now. Correa Alves trying to widen his lines, trying to find an advantage over Simoncic, and if anything, he might be pushing a little bit too hard now because it's going to be that difficult to get past Jerne.
And you probably also heard it in the background of your broadcast. There were some crashing sounds going on. I tried to make out the crash there, and all I saw was a car very shortly be on the right side on its car. So yeah, I don't know what happened there, but it does seem like someone had to sadly retire his car.
So we'll see who that is in just a moment's time, because at the moment I'm looking and Pim Van Ark is out there on the racetrack. We're unsure who else may be retiring from this event. So we'll wait and see in the next few laps whether or not someone sustained some terminal damage, of course, as well. How about that battle for P3? Let's have a look, because Simoncic and Correa Alves, oh, they're not as close as we would have hoped, but we were looking at Enrico Ramamolano, who's right behind as well. They've included themselves in this scrap for P3. So now the train's starting to form up again. It's now a 4-car train and a 4-car fight for that not only final podium position, Stefan, but final entry into that 12 Hours of Sebring coming up later on in March in a month's time.
Yeah, and if they're not careful, oh, Nico Barclay just overtook Mathieu de Corp down Almond Straight as Mathieu de Corp comes back again through Sunset Bend on the inside. They're very brave men there, apparently. But yeah, Mathieu de Corp has to give up now 7th place, and they have to be careful, the top 4 guys there from 3rd down, because this pack here, and this one goes down to P12. They are getting closer because of the fighting for P3 up ahead.
It's getting close. Look at the Crop as well. Oh boy, does he love to creep close to the rear end and the braking. And Nico Barclay.
Andika! What a save there! Way on the dirt there on the outside before Gurney bent and keeps the car out of the wall, out of the bridge, out of his opponent. And yeah, now he's under pressure here in 6th position. Had to drop position against Daniele Canistrasi, and yeah, very lucky to still be alive there.
Very, very lucky and very well managed indeed, of course, as well. Ramamolano now finds themselves in the 6th position, just ahead of Nico Barclay. And Barclay's looked racy, so it's the last person you want to be stuck behind in this event, along with Ruben Correa Alves, who looks good. But Alves now has started to conserve their energy almost as well. Maybe that car was quicker towards the beginning of the stint, because not as quick as they were in those opening couple of minutes.
Yeah, kind of looks like a qualifying setup there. more like a race setup right now, but maybe he's just trying to save his tires for the end of the stint. So we'll have to see how that gap is gonna evolve over the next few laps.
So let's look at this scrap right now. We're looking at Nico Barclay, who's getting very close here to Andika Ramamalana. Wow, blisters into the braking zone at Sunset Bend. Will the switchback work? That is the question, as Barclay applies the throttle with his right foot. Now obtains the slipstream advantage yet again. Maulana defends the inside. Barclay trying to widen the line here. This is this turn one complex where any line can possibly work. And it looks like again, Barclay, oh goodness, the oversteer almost ended his day. And it could end his chances at P7 right now as De Crop looks optimistic for that position. Up the inside.
Whoa.
Now contact between the two. They're still alongside each other through turn 5. Oh, how are they still racing like this in these early stages? With Yimi Nasula close as well. Nunendorf behind as well. Have a look at this scrap heading into turn 7.
Yeah, and everyone has to be careful now. We're 2 by 3 now for a split second. Oh, that's gonna end bad.
How did that end up like that? That should have been a lot worse, as Zwiers was, I think, collected by someone in the braking zone, and they all touched and went door banging, and yet they're all still racing here within a second of each other. The last thing I would have expected from that.
I was holding my breath there, had to mute myself not to blow all my air back into the microphone there. How did that not end bad? That was very close for everyone. But yeah, Tim, he is now under pressure here from Heiko Kolvenbach, and Mathieu de Korp, he came out the worst, dropped from 7th down to 12th there, so he really got caught up by that. Oh, Tim, Heiko, they're having a bit of a contact there. And all sorting out now. Tim now makes contact with Mathieu, so they're still not finished with making contact with each other.
De Crop has lost a lot of positions, but I think Kolbenbach sort of forced Nunendorf off the racetrack here, and Tim won't be pleased with that, of course, as they head into Sunset Bend. Here's Kolbenbach and Nunendorf alongside each other. Now De Crop wants to have a statement in this scrap for that final position in the top 10. They all stay in a formation. Oh, they get so close, don't they, in the braking zones, and then it's just an anti-climax on the exit. But now, looking at this is your closest scrap for that top 10.
Yeah, oh, is that? Is Andika spinning out of turn 1? Everyone has to wait. Oh, gets collected there in the middle of the road.
So that was... Yeah, and Andika off the racetrack. So right now, just having a look at where they're going to rejoin.
Look
at
they're
going to lose
long
so many positions.
He has to wait. Look at that track map. Only back into 34th. He will be able to join back on the track because it's just a stream of cars that's going to pass him now. Now he sees a chance actually and goes out and continues to drive.
I would have tried a some weird J-turn just to not lose that many positions. Then again, I am pretty unsafe. But then again, Andika Ramamalana is not me, and they are all the way down outside your top 30. And a lot of damage right now. They're just trying to test the car out. It's a bit confusing, but they're just trying to swerve around, trying to see whether or not anything's going wrong. We're looking at Kolbenbach in P9 right now, just ahead of Tim Nunendorf. So Kolbenbach now has a couple of seconds to make up on Jordi Zwiers in P8.
And yeah, we have those 2 cars for P9, but we also still have the 3 cars for P6. That's Nico Barclay, Jimmy Nisula, and Jordi Zwiers here. That's 2 Aston Martins and I think that's a 650S, as Nico is now under attack here by Jimmy, who is side by side going into Sunset Bend. He surely has to give up that position there, Nico on the outside. He does, but now Jordi comes in. Very close there between the two. I thought he's going to try to do something there on the inside, but thinks better of it.
Yeah, Mr. Zwiers was Mr. Optimistic for a second, but thought better of it. Now across the start-finish line, Jordi still has an opportunity to get past Nico Barclay. Nico Barclay has looked a little out of rhythm, looked a little erratic in these opening stages. So for me, Nico just needs to find that rhythm as quickly as possible as they head into turn 3 yet another time. But I think for the moment, though, Zwias just needs to understand that Barclay could make an error here and then could find his way past Nico Barclay without any effort at all.
Yeah, exactly. We have seen so far quite a I don't want to say accident riddled, but we have seen quite some contact. It's like a contact spot. It's like DTM right now rather than some GT racing in those first 21 minutes of this race.
And still 160 to go, of course, as well. Zwias up the inside of Barclay. Good move from Jordi Zwias. Didn't listen to me at all, and rightly so. Finds his way past Nico Barclay. But Barclay, as we said, is racy in these early stages. Still has an opportunity here heading into turn 13 into Tower. Great defensive driving from the both of them. But he forces Zwias off track, of course, as well. As Zwias will not be pleased with that. Kolvenbach finds their way through, but it could have been a very good battle had it stayed clean.
Yeah, a bit of a shoulder check there, ever so slightly, but he pushed Jordi off the track there, and obviously he have no traction out there, so he lost that position to Heiko. But once again, it could have been way worse. Could have stayed in and maybe spun out, but he still has a chance. But now Heiko, he is closing in on Nico. Can he do something? Goes to the inside. Nico once again not defending his position into Sunset Bend.
Have a look at Jordi Zwias, though. Is this going to be 3 wide into Sunset Bend? Something I'd never thought I'd see at Sebring. It's something very rare that would occur here at this racetrack. But it is a double whammy for the driver of Nico Barclay. Could even be a triple whammy. I've never heard that phrase before, but it may be created here today at turn 1 if Neuendorf can find a way past Nico Barclay. No way through for Tim Neuendorf.
Yeah, Neuendorf, he actually nearly got past. Actually, yeah, and this allowed now Mathieu to come back up to the guys here on the back, but Jordi Zwias, he nearly went past Heiko Kolvenbach into turn 1 here too, so Jordi nearly gained all positions back that he lost just a moment ago.
Into turn 7. Ooh, De Krop still racy despite all the door banging that's occurred in these early stages. I'll tell you, De Krop has been all over the place this race and still ready to go, ready to fight for positions. So back into your leading positions. Let's have a look at your top 10. Just under 25 minutes into this race. Arne Schoenvliet is in the first position ahead of Erhan Yayovski. Those top 2 are in their own group. Then the peloton behind includes Jerne Simoncic, Ruben Correa Alves, and Daniele Canestracci, all biding their time, waiting for a moment to climb into that top 3. The final entry into that 12 hours of Sebring that will occur on the 23rd of March. Yimi Nasula, Heikki Kolvenbach, Jordi Zwias, Nico Barclay, and Tim Neuendorf round out your top 10. Have a look at that battle for P3, though. Here's Ruben Correa Alves looking for a move on Jerne Simoncic, but Simoncic has been a brick wall of a roadblock in these early stages.
Yeah, Ruben, he has gained all his pace back again, so it seemed like he just took a short little breather there from attacking Jerne, and somehow Daniele, he came back now, and yeah, Ruben actually goes to the inside here of turn 1, and he passes Jerne easily, but now he has to be careful because Daniele also wants to try something here into turn 3 on the inside. That's a bit of rubbing there, but all clean, and Daniele makes up his position into turn 4, making Jerne lose 2 positions in just 2 corners.
They finally got past Simoncic, and the double whammy for Jerne demotes him to P5. But depending on this battle and how it continues, Canestracci looking for the 3rd position. Correa Alves has wanted that P3 slot all race. He's not going to give it up that easily, just as he found it here 25 minutes into the event. So now they'll start to form up through the middle sector. Correa Alves, confirmed, is in your top 3. Canestracci 4th. Simoncic in 5th. The question is whether or not Simoncic can sustain the pace to keep up with your top 4 for the moment. Other news, of course, as well. The live stewards have...
Jordi Zwias going past Heiko Kolvenbach once again. Quite some touching there, rubbing and door banging between the 2. Oh, that just went on for 3 turns there, banging doors rubbing tires. How are they still racing like that? Obviously, both are not apparently liking each other that much in this race right now.
Yeah, exactly. And they're still alongside each other heading into Le Mans coming up, turn 16. Zwiers. Wow, how is this battle still taking place side by side as finally Kolbenbach on the inside?
Here comes Neuendorf.
Yeah, Neuendorf has all the momentum here. Looks for the outside line. Kolbenbach aids him with a bit of slipstream, of course, too, just to gain that advantage. But will that backfire? No, it doesn't. Smart driving from Heiko Kolbenbach.
Here comes the Corp though now on the inside of Neuendorf. Braking early didn't pan out for him there at all, as he has to be now defensive against the Audi R8 of the Corp, but the Corp slotting in behind Neuendorf, and they're gonna stay the same here.
So what we're going to talk about before, we'll try and fit this in while all this chaotic battle takes place. There was a drive-through penalty assigned by the live stewards to Matthew Beavis. It was for contact on lap 6, along with a dangerous rejoin as well, with the stewards had something to say about that. So, of course, for Matthew Beavis, he's entered the pit lane already and served that penalty. And that will be it, of course, as well. Do not follow the rules. You have to follow it, of course, as well. Kolbenbach, though, heading into turn 7. Just ahead of Zwiers. How about the crop here? This is a, what is it, a 5-car, 6-car, 7-car train? I don't know what it is. 7-car train here, all the way back to Paul Holt in P13. The driver we haven't spoken about much.
Between P7 and P13 is this train, although... there's a pass once again. Jordi Zwiers once again into Cunningham. Very aggressive on the brakes here. And Kolbenbach now comes back on the inside here for turn 12. And can he make it stick? Once again, they touch.
Contact between the two, but they remain pointing in a straight line. They'll be okay. It's whether or not Tim Neuendorf up ahead will be able to gain some momentum here on the Ulmann Straight like he did last lap. Have a look at the crop, though, up the inside of Neuendorf, trying to force him offline, trying to make life difficult for Tim. And here they are now heading into Le Mans. Look at Neuendorf. He gained such a great run here heading onto the Ulmann Straight. They are now all single file, following each other in the slipstream, trying to gain an advantage, trying to climb up vital positions in these early stages.
Yeah, and at this point, I'm really starting to wonder how are Jordi and Heiko still keeping up, or still are able to keep up this aggression between each other. They surely must be killing off the tires by this point.
Yeah, exactly. When those pit stops coming up soon, we'll see the driver change, and then whether or not they can continue on will be another question. So strategy is something we need to consider, and these drivers are probably thinking about that, of course, as well. A lot easier for your top two, where they're untouched in terms of battles. But this battle for your final few positions in your top 10 just keeps on continuing. You know, I wonder what would have happened if Pim Van Ark was still in this battle. You know, Pim had a lot of position, had a lot of pace, and could have easily have climbed up into the top 5, of course, as well. Even maybe past Simoncic.
Yeah, it's an interesting question there. He might have even been able to get away from this pack as Paul Holt there in the background. I think you saw it in the Callaway Corvette. Very sideways out of the hairpin there. Nearly getting collected by Felix Anton Fortin. So very lucky for him as he made that P12 position up into turn 1 with a very aggressive overtake, but very well executed overtake.
There's Paul Holt on screen right now as we're following him. Haven't seen much of him in this event, but he's now got some breathing room, of course. Well, not
Also,
really. Yeah.
Speaking about Pim Van Ark, that Corvette behind them, that is him, but obviously he's lapped. So, yeah, very unfortunate because Pim, he is right now a lap behind these guys and has to stay put and just have to watch them battle out for a position that he could potentially be ahead of.
Exactly. So, a couple of DNFs that just took place. David Serra out of the event along with Yuri Giesen. They're both included in our DNF list, and they are out of this event, unfortunately, with engine and suspension damage, respectively. 38 cars still remaining in the field. Only 3 cars are lap behind. One of those is Pim Van Ark, who we're looking at, and you're right. Pim Van Ark is in that orange Corvette right behind them, of course, as well. Erhan Yayovsky is in the pit lane from P2, though, Stefan. An early pit stop. Can he find some clean air? We'll have a look at the track map at the top right-hand side of the screen, whether or not he feeds out into that vital clean air.
I don't know. That's a rather weird strategy there from them, as he is waiting to get released again.
Should be able to find some clean air because you see all the drivers are starting to clear out, so he'll rejoin it towards the back of the order. Now, will he possibly undercut on Schoonvliet in P1 here for a position?
This starts to seem like very unscheduled. He's standing there for a very long time already. Half a lap already completed by Arne Schoenfleet, and he was just 2 seconds behind him, so yeah. I think they have some problems.
Oh, doesn't look good so far. He may be lapped in just a moment's time. As Schoenvliet right now, as we're just having a look at the track map, he's on the Almond Straight, Schoenvliet. You can see that number 1 at the top right-hand side of the screen. And well, it was the only challenger he really had, and it looks like he's about to lap him as Yayovsky. Well, who knows? Is he going to continue in this race? That's the question. Or maybe it's not even a pit stop? Who knows, Stefan?
According to the YouTube chat, it is a strategy with only 30 minutes of fuel, so, yeah. Let's just say it's a strategy as Paul Holt once again makes up a position. Now into P10 he goes.
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff from them. But we'll have a look as well. We'll keep you posted on the Erhan Yayovsky situation, of course, because they're already a lap behind right now. But this could certainly be strategy. Who knows? They've just lost a lot of time so far. Look at Jordi Ziers and Heiko Kolbenbach heading into P6 and P7. Nunendorf right behind as well.
Okay, so we just got confirmation there. Final corner on the entry. He lost it. 150 seconds of repair. So his race is, with that, probably done.
Oh, goodness. Yayovsky finally out of his box. And he'll be kicking himself. Not only is he not in a scrap for P1, he's currently plumb last in the field. 1 lap behind. I know it's a 3-hour event.
Oh! Tim Neuendorf smashes the back of Heikki Kolvenbach there. Everyone is able to continue. That was into the hairpin there. And yeah, Tim Neuendorf, he is now 9th position. Mathieu de Korp got past it. He's trying to get past Kolvenbach. They're too very late on the brakes. They're up braking himself. And Kolvenbach is going to come back here. Slight touch between the two, but everything is going to stay put here. Paul Holt, he's now also trying to get himself into 8th. He just got the position.
Oh, stay composed. Neuendorf. They need to stay composed right now. Neuendorf, as you're right, he's alongside Paul Holt. Holt finally into the top 10, by the way. Congratulations to Paul Holt. It took half an hour, but he's there. Barclay demoted outside the top 10. Don't make contact, boys. There's so much racing still to go, of course. It's only the early stages of this 3-hour event. Bart de Vos behind as well? No, that's not Bart de Vos. So guess who that lap car is right behind them? It's Pim Van Mark, 1 lap behind, but he's showing that he has the pace to battle with this bunch.
Yeah, he's playing a smart game as a lap car. He's just staying there, looking at these, trying to catch him. Oh, Paul Holt, hold it together. He does so indeed. And Pim Van Ark looks like he wants to overtake Nico Barclay now.
Well, Barclay has been all over the place this race. He's been involved in battles. He's been quick. He's been slow. He's been overtaken. He's been calm. He's been everything, Nico Barclay. And once again, he just can't get some breathing room for himself. So for Nico Barclay, he's going to just keep it together and stay composed as I say that. Oh my goodness, did I just make it? Was that a commentator curse? He's off the racetrack in a Sector 1. The complete opposite of what we expected.
That was quite a commentator curse, so good job on that. But yeah, very, very unfortunate for Nico, but hey, he didn't hit anything. He's back in 14th now. Get your head back into the game. It's still a long race to go. We're only 35 minutes into this race, so you still have a lot to go.
That has to be on a YouTube compilation of commentary curses in the next 10 years. Otherwise, I'll be I won't be happy. I never commentate or curse people. I don't believe in it. I think it's some silly superstition, but it just happened there. I have nothing to say right now. I'm lost for words.
There's always a first, Johnny. There's always a first.
Oh, that's what they all say. That is what they all say. So, while that took place with Nico Barclay and that curse, Erhan Yudovsky, unfortunately for his fans, he is out of the event and he is confirmed as a retirement. So 3 drivers out of the race. He joins Yuri Giesen and David Serra as drivers out of this event for today's race. So for the likes of Simoncic back up ahead here, Stefan, I think he just doesn't have the race pace in this early stint because look, once Correa Alves and Canestracci have gotten past, they built a 3-second advantage over him.
Yeah, he dropped quite fast, which proves kinda my point that I was making earlier, that he's really holding these guys up, that he doesn't have the race pace compared to his qualifying pace. So, but hey, still, you're 4th place, you're just 1 position behind them. So keep your head in, hit your braking markers, hit your apexes, hit your acceleration points, and bring that car over to the second guy so he hopefully can do something with it and do something great with it.
Back behind Simoncic, though, is Yumi Nisola, who's close behind to claiming a top 4 position. Yumi's had a quiet race, hasn't he? He's I can't remember. He was in some scraps early on in the event, but at least he's broken away from that chaotic bunch that begins from Jordi Zwias onwards. But
yeah,
Yumi Nisola, good race so far, yeah.
He was in the middle of that. He was never involved in any scrunches, but he was right around the position there. So very quiet race from him so far, and I think he's very happy that he got away from the pack because they are still going hard at it.
So thanks for joining us as well, whether or not you're watching on Studio 397's YouTube page or on R Factor Live's Twitch channel, of course, as well. Feel free to send in any questions to myself or Stefan alongside me. I'm sure we'll be more than enthusiastic to answer them. Stefan, what are your favorite questions that you like to receive from people out there? Because you're a lot more of an experienced driver than I am.
It depends. If I'm a driver or a broadcaster, as a broadcaster, it's always easier to get in questions about the race, about the drivers, especially if you know some of the drivers. And as a driver, it's always, how did this win feel to you?
So, in this event so far, 2 hours, 20 minutes remaining, looking at the clock. And at the 2 hour mark, we'll go through the entire field, of course, as well. We'll give you an update, of course, for that. So don't stress, but the field will cycle through at the bottom end of the screen. Just looking at this scrap at the moment for P5. There's Yumi Nisola, but behind them, Jordi Zwias is still defending from Heikki Kolvenbach. Kolvenbach has had a decent race so far. De Krop behind as well has been overly aggressive this race, ready to pounce on any mistake from a driver up ahead. Nunendorf, P9 doesn't represent how quick he is. He could easily be up in your top 6 for the moment, had things gone his way. Paul Holt, Bart de Vos. Paul Holt behind as well is close behind. Bart de Vos is in their second train right behind, but right behind Paul Holt is the driver. Where is he? Pim van Mark. He's dropped behind just a little bit, Stefan. He's just given him a bit of breathing room. But it reminds me, I'm not sure how much of a Formula One fan you are, but I remember at the Hockenheim ring in 2012, I think Lewis Hamilton was like a lap behind and started to battle with Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso and everything just to show that he had the pace. I don't know if you remember that race.
Yeah. It's always frowned upon if you start to battle with someone, but as long as you're faster and actually can pull away from the people, then it's not as much as an issue. Obviously, you're gonna slow them down, and they're not gonna like that. But as long as you're faster, it actually might help the car that you just overtook, because
Yeah.
suddenly they have someone that they can focus on. He's faster. I'm gonna hang myself in that back of the car and drive up with him to the next cars and hopefully continue with him through the field.
Kolbenbach looks close into turn 1. Let's go, Heiko. Oh, it just narrows so much. All right, so let's talk about this circuit right now. We're heading through this first sector. Braking zones, they're all bumpy, Stefan. Setup is critical around Sebring. Anything else we need to look out for or prepare for through that first sector?
Mostly it's just a tight and bumpy surface that you have there. It's narrow, it's tight, you have to be careful there. Oh, what is the corp coming from here? Coming from Mars 4, the dive
Jeez.
bomb on Choritz. Heiko Kolbenbach, and he actually makes it stick as there was a car on the grass there, but oh my world, where did the corp come from there?
That was a dive atomic bomb. It was so far behind from Mateo de Krop. Kolbenbach, well, in the pit stop, he might need to change tires, fuel, everything. He might need to change his underwear as well, because I would have been super excited and super... I didn't even have the word for it. What is it? Super surprised from the move from de Krop. Right behind as well. And Kolbenbach now into P8. So I told you, Mateo de Krop here, he looks racy, doesn't he, Stefan, in these early stages of the race? Although we're starting to creep in towards 50% distance soon.
Yeah, the Krop, I think he took a bit of a breather and looked at the situation, evaluated it between Heiko and Jordan, but now they did separate a tiny little bit, so Mathieu thought, that's my time, and it sure as hell was his time. There's Heiko, tries to make up that position again. Ooh, nearly makes contact with the back of the Audi R8 there, but Heiko trying to get back that position, now going down the start-finish straight up to turn 1.
And you can feel the anger and aggression in Kolbenbach's cockpit right now. He's swerving aggressively, trying to force de Krop offline and trying to send a statement back to him saying, hey, mate, I don't like that dive bomb you just had on me at turn 7. I thought it was a bit too optimistic. So Kolbenbach right now, expect anything from him to fight to claim that P7 position. Lucky 7 for Kolbenbach. Doesn't get the run here out of turn 5 through turn 6. The right-hander, of course, as well. There's the change in tarmac and color, of course. He looks a little bit too far behind, but that won't stop any potential move. I think it does, though. I think it was a bit too far behind, and he'll form up into P8.
And yeah, it's gonna be interesting now what potentially Tim and Paul can do. But they're all starting to... Oh my word, Heiko coming with a dive bomb. They're making hard contact with Mathieu. Surely has to give up their position now. Be a gentleman there, Heiko. And they're still side by side. And if Mathieu doesn't have damage from that, then I don't know what.
Oh, how close is de Krop getting here? Wow, I've almost never see a move through there. Now heading into turn 16, coming up soon as well. Nunendorf getting racy. Paul Holt, of course, still alongside each other. De Krop and Kolbenbach. Nunendorf, this is a carbon copy of the battle that we had a few laps ago. How about Nunendorf right now? Paul Holt, 2x2 on the Ullman straight, of course, as well. Who's going to make it 3 wide? No one optimistic so far. And Kolbenbach just dabs on the brakes by just a touch. Still 2x2 through Sunset Bend. Who's going to end out on top as Kolbenbach saves it? Had an immense amount of oversteer on the exit. And Paul Holt, at the end of the day, will possibly gain a position here through turn 1, depending on how he nails this first apex.
Ooh, bit of a slight touch there, rear to front, and Paul Holt making up 2 positions there in just 2 corners. So Paul Holt, move him up into your 8th position here, and Paul, he is really starting to make moves.
Superb battle between these 4 here of de Krop, Holt, Kolbenbach, and Nunendorf. That is your P7 to 10 position standings, respectively. And Kolbenbach is close behind, of course, as well. Won't make a move into P8 on Paul Holt. So Paul Holt right now, Stefan, quietly climbing into the top, possibly 5 positions. He's got a lot of time to make up on Yimi Nasula, but it's very close behind between this bunch. The closest battle right now on the racetrack, ironically, is your battle for P2 and 3 between Correa Alves and Canestracci. Those two haven't separated themselves from each other. There's like an imaginary elastic band between the two that you just can't get rid of for pretty much this entire race. We've been 45 minutes through it.
Yeah, and they've dropped Janne for about 3.5 seconds now. So Janne, he is hurting a tiny bit against those two, but he is still in front of Jimmy, so nothing happening there for him. And yeah, Daniele, as once the green flag dropped, they were close together. They're still close together. We're about, I think we're about 10 minutes away from our first stops, or maybe 10 to 15 minutes rather, from our first stops. So it's gonna be interesting when these guys come into pit lane, and maybe even someone was able to save some fuel in all the battling we saw so far.
So Sebring, it's a laser scan track by Studio 397, and available in rFactor 2, of course. For you, though, what's your most favorite corner around this circuit?
I like all
drive.
of them, to be honest.
Not to watch, to drive, to be in the cockpit in.
To drive. Okay, that's gonna be.
Turn 1? Turn 1's fun.
Turn 1 is fun, but it doesn't give you a lot. Honestly,
Yeah.
I would say it's the complex 3-4-5.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That frustrates the living everything out of me.
I like technical tracks, so I really like that, because once again, you can have your different lines. You can either go hard over that second curb of that right-hander, or you drive around it and really take the first and third apex. So there's a lot of variety, as Paul Holt tries to make a move here into Cunningham, but is not able to. But yeah, that complex, it's small, it's tight, but it offers a big variety of lines that you can actually take and are fast.
Yeah, and Holt's line there through Tower at turn 13 was uncanny and not fast. So, bit of a mistake there from Paul Holt. He'll creep into De Krop sometime soon. So, you love that complex then. Let me get this straight. I might be wrong here, but you a driver that loves setting up the car then? Because if you love that first sector, it means you love nailing the setup.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that is quite right. I'm not the best at setting up cars, but I do like setting up my cars.
Yeah. There's a trick I used to use where I'd create a fake setup and then send it to everybody like 10 minutes before qualifying saying, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to send that. And then you get people using it and being like 7 seconds off the pace. And I'll be like, yeah, I just wasted 3 minutes of their life. I don't know. That might be the most useless story I've ever told in my life, but it was funny to me at the time.
Yeah. Oh, Tim Neudorfer side by side with Heiko Kolvenbach as of right now. Thank God for saving me off that conversation.
Oh, no. Yeah. Who are we watching right now again?
Heiko Kolvenbach and
Neuendorf, yeah.
He just took way too much curb there in turn 4, and nearly spun his car out, so that broke up that battle. But Paul Holt and Mathieu de Korp, they're once again very close to each other.
So, Neuendorf is still in the top 10. There's an opportunity here to get past Kolvenbach, who's lost a lot of time after Holt and de Krop and everyone barged their way past him. Neuendorf, I feel, is got a lot more pace right now. He just can't make an overtake. Mirror stick. Look at the scrap here between de Krop and Holt up ahead as well. Jordi Zwiers also making a mistake there at the exit of turn 10. Now heading into Collier 11. Holt searching into this next right-hander at Tower. Almost a 90-degree right-hander. The apex opens up by just a touch, but Paul Holt, at the end of the day, will not make his way past Mathieu.
Yeah, Mathieu, he is... I don't know, it kind of looks to me, both Heiko and Mathieu hurting quite a bit over their previous pace after they both touched. So we might see a little bit of aero damage affecting their pace right now. Because look at how much Paul is gaining here on the slipstream. They're over Mathieu. So to me, it really does seem like that both are hurting on their. Actually, Heiko and Tim, they're side by side once again into Sunset Bend here. And
Come on, Tim. Hopefully you can make his way past for once. We'll see if he can get it done here. Stefan, talk us through this battle heading into turn 1.
Yeah, he has the inside line. He's already way ahead of Heiko. So once again, you can see the straight line speed being a bit damaged here from the contact as Paul Holt in front throws up some dust. And Tim, he is now in your 9th position here. And I think, yeah, that's Bart de Vos. He's already behind these guys. That's just how much they're losing compared to the others.
So Canestracci has finally gotten his way past Ruben Correa Alves for P2. Let's have a look at this battle now heading into the middle sector as well, because Correa Alves is very racy, screams around the outside, tries to make the move stick, and now is off the racetrack. So Ruben Correa Alves, a bit too optimistic, lost his cool, and he's lost a couple of seconds to go with that, of course, as well.
Yeah, and it seems like that Jan is starting to find a little bit of pace again, because he was getting ever so slightly closer to the guys too. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that top 5, and see if these 4 cars are now starting to close in on each other.
So Correa Alves has a couple of seconds now to make up on Canestracci up ahead. You can still see him in his sights. And Simoncic right now can see Correa Alves in his sights as well. Simoncic's pace has increased as the fuel has decreased. So that's something to look out for, Stefan. Is that maybe Simoncic likes a lighter car. Maybe he likes the tires a little bit more worn compared to the driver's head. Maybe he was in tire conservation mode throughout this stint as we approach those first pit stops for this event right now. Because have a look at Jimmy Nasula as well. Jimmy is very close now. So all of a sudden, this top 5 battle has turned into a battle for P2. The 4 cars are separated within 3 seconds.
Oh, speaking about a battle, the Corp and Holt are side by side again. Going into turn 1, the straight line speed of the Corvette is really helping him, and also the damage. But once again, Holt just not able to do something into turn 1 on the outside. Now he has the inside for turn 3 as the Corp lags back there on my screen. And Paul Holt finally getting past the Corp.
Yeah, so some technical issues, of course, as well. That aids Paul Holt's move on Matthew de Krop. Now, de Krop is back into the 8th position, and we spoke about Paul Holt and how quick he is in this event. He's doing a good job so far. Paul Holt has Jordi Zwiers next on his list, and then he has about 14 seconds to make up for that top 5 position. That top 5 scrap. So right now, as we look at the order, as we're approaching that 1 hour mark, Schoonvliet leads, has a 15-second advantage. And then you have that sort of mini peloton of Canestracci, Correa Alves, Simoncic, and Nasula. That's your next battle. Then there's a group behind as well that includes everyone from P6 to P12. You'll see all the names at the bottom end of the screen. But now even David Mrzek has joined into the scrap. And I think the more and more these drivers are fighting and battling, the more and more time they're losing compared to the drivers behind and ahead.
Yeah, and talking about fighting, let me take you to a battle that is further down the road. We're talking here about the 4-car battle for P14. That's Nico Barclay, Chris Gonzalez, Michael Onicio, and Lorenzo Tortella. And these guys are going at it already now for a little bit of keeping my eye on, and they are starting to get really close to each other and really starting to look like they want to fight here.
It's very close right now between the drivers. Oh, just having a look at them. Holt and de Krop. The battle continues heading into Sunset Bend. This is going to allow some breathing room for Jordi Zwiers. But it looks like they're going to form up heading into turn 1. An awful corner is turn 1. I hate this corner so much driving in the cockpit because it's such a challenge. It's not an easy corner at all. This is what these drivers have to face here for 3 hours today and possibly 12 hours later on in mid-March. But for now, though, Neuendorf, we said he had the pace, Stefan. It's finally good to see him back into this scrap. I think Neuendorf, as I said, I'm tipping him to climb his way ahead of these drivers. Maybe not ahead of Paul Holt, but definitely ahead of de Krop, maybe possibly Jordi Zwiers.
Well, it's gonna be interesting to see because Tim is closing in on these two guys, and Paul, he's closing in on Svier. So it's really gonna be interesting because it could be potentially that Tim Neundorf at the end of this stint or at the midpoint of the next stint, that he's gonna find himself suddenly in 6th because of his pace and how tight everything is gonna get here again for P6.
And talking about the second position, Canestracci now has a 3-second advantage on Ruben Correa Alves. Look how close Simoncic and Nisula are to Correa Alves. We could see a move incoming here, heading into the Sunset Bend, just under an hour into the event right now, as Simoncic will look to claim just some slipstream here up ahead to climb a position past Ruben Correa Alves. Alves is he struggling with tire wear, you think?
I think he probably has some flight spots, and we also saw quite some aggression from him in the early stages of this race. So it really might be his tires hurting quite a lot from all of that punishment that he forced them to go through.
So Simoncic is very good on the defensive. I experienced that as his teammate for over a year. He's a very strong driver, but whether or not he can get past Ruben Correa Alves is now another question, of course, as well. The ever-experienced Yone Simoncic. We actually met. It's a funny story. We were teammates in, I think, was it 2015? We met back in, I think, 2009 or 2010, and we didn't really know each other. We just sort of were in this same sort of league and we're just racing, and then sort of found each other again 5 years later and had no idea that we'd met each other. It's a good meeting story. It's like George Costanza always says, you need a good meeting story to make a good friend.
Yeah, pretty much, and that is quite a good meeting story there. Old friends meeting again, not knowing each other. Old friends that are meeting each other again on the track are also Sviers and Paul Holt. They were fighting already just about 20 minutes ago, and then they got separated. Then we had the twist between Jordi and Heiko, and now Paul is coming back, and he is looking quite a lot faster than Jordi right now.
Oh, while this happens, there's this battle for P14 right now. Barclay behind him, Gonzalez, Nizio, and Lorenzo Tortella in a small train right now. They were getting a bit argy-bargy through the middle sector, but now they start to form up through these final couple of corners. So we'll keep one eye on that, of course. We'll keep another eye on that battle for those final positions in your top 10. Yes.
Alves is going into pit lane. 50 now minutes done of this race, and Ruben Correa Alves just hit pit road, pitting from P3.
And those tires were shot, weren't they? So he had to.
And the next taker here, Paul Holt, coming into pit lane.
We'll see if there's a driver change this early on. But Correa Alves in his box for quite some time. As you're right, Paul Holt joins him, of course, too. You have to search for that pit box, don't you? You don't want to overshoot it and lose a couple of more seconds.
Also, we have two more, Chris Gonzalez and Nico Barclay, the two guys from the P14 twist that we saw, or fight, sorry, not twist. They are also pitting, so we have our first scheduled takers in the pit lane right now.
So it's 1 hour into the event as we hit that 2 hour mark right now. 2 hours left of this race, and we have a few cars heading into the pits as the pit window opens for the first time this event. There's currently been 7 DNFs so far, so still 33 drivers out there on the racetrack. Now, where is Correa Alves? Back out there on the racetrack, rejoining nice and well. Drivers behind as well. He's joined just ahead of Mike Bell.
Yeah, exactly. He's right now in 23rd position. Obviously leading the pit takers so far. Where's Arne Schönfleet? He's right now in the last turn. He's gonna drive around for another lap. So he is now gonna he's now on lap 29 of this race.
Paul Holt exits the pit lane, of course, as well. Gonzalez and Barclay just exit their box right now. Barclay being replaced by the driver of Borja Milan. So now Milan is in that car, ready to go and ready to make up positions.
And Daniele Canistrasi just pitted from P2, so he's gonna put his McLaren into the pit box here for his first scheduled stop of the day. Mathieu de Corp, he's also putting his car into pit lane, same as Heiko Kolvenbach. So more and more people coming into pit lane now. David Mroszek is now also in pit lane, so right now 4 people in pit lane here. As Matthew Beavis comes in, and yeah, where is Ruben Correas right now? He is in Sunset Bend, going under the bridge. Where is Canistrasi coming out here? Long pit lane, just got off the limiter. Let's have a look. He is gonna be well ahead of Ruben Correas Alves, even gaining about a second on him over this pit stop. So no pressure from him. Gonna be interesting to see when Yanni and Jimmy come into pit lane to take their stops of this race.
And it's a good point as well, because I think Simoncic and Nasula, 2 drivers who have conserved their tyres quite well, will go longer in this stint. Now, whether or not that helps them now in this phase, not so much. But once they pit, they'll have fresher rubber for the entirety of that second stint over the drivers of Canistracci and Correa Alves.
And we're seeing here once again Jordi Sveers, who is now under attack from Tim Neuendorf. The only 2 drivers remaining from the battle that we saw that didn't pit yet. As Arne Schönfleet, he is now in pit lane, same with Simoncic. Ninsula in pit lane. Seems like we're at the end of the pit window. Let's have a look if Jordi, yes, no, he does not come in. So Jordi Sveers, he's not going to be your new leader of the race.
There he is. Jordi Zuyas continues on. As you said, Neuendorf is close behind as well, and Tim is looking for that provisional lead nevertheless, but all those drivers into the pit lane as well. Arne Schoonvliet, look how angled he is in the box as well. It's going to have a tough time exiting without hitting the concrete barriers. Simoncic, quick pit stop for him, of course, as well. No one's going to touch Schoonvliet. I'm just a bit nervous right now. So now, finally heading into the car for Arne Schoonvliet is Riccardo Corazzari, and just edges ahead of a couple other drivers exiting the pit lane. Pitayas Yao enters his box. Where's Simoncic? Simoncic now has been passed by that number 1 team who's currently in that provisional P1 position. Simoncic still waiting. It's a long time for Simoncic in this pit lane.
Yeah, incredibly long right now. Whereas they're already way past him. His competitors way past him. Now well, he goes off.
Michi Hoyer jumps in. Sorry to cut you off there, Stefan. Michi Hoyer finally jumps into the car. They're out and away. Speed limiter out. And Michi Hoyer screams away. He's ready to go, but he's lost a lot of time to the drivers ahead.
Now, I don't remember how it is. If they're also allowed to serve a speeding in the pit lane penalty. When they enter the pit lane, if they're allowed to serve it on the pit stop, because that was an awful long stop for them. Now back in 9th, pit cycle cleaned up in 7th. So yeah, very interesting and extremely long stop from them.
Very odd, and Hoyer has a lot of work to do here in this second stint right now as he takes over from Jurne Simoncic. So Jordi Zuyas enters the pit lane along with Tim Neuendorf. Those 2 now, well, as Neuendorf enters his box, it's early on in the pit lane. Jordi has to travel to the middle of the pit lane, of course, as well. Felix Anton Fortin enters his box, of course, as well. We'll see Devin Braun enter soon. And the
Devin Braun just came out of pit lane. He is the teammate of Arne Schönfleet.
Oh, excuse me.
So he's gonna take over the... They do have a Apparently it does. What? Why are they pitting again? Do they have a penalty for speeding in the pit lane? As he goes up on the checks there. That is gonna put Daniele Conistrasi on first place here. Is Devin Brown still in pit lane? What is happening to this race all of a sudden?
This race has toppled. It's all over the place right now as well. So Conistracci leads finally. That pass earlier on Correa Alves became what is now the pass for the lead as well. Ruben Correa Alves is quick in the first stint. He will try and reel in Conistracci behind. Corazzari is in the third position. So it wasn't it Ricardo now who's actually taken over from that first position. So Ricardo is the driver there in P3. So he's the one... Schoonvliet's teammate there, they're in the third position. So they did lose the first position there, Stefan, but they're in the third position now. It's different to Devin Braun.
Oh, my bad. I was fixated there on the car a bit too much there. They confused me there. I'm sorry for that. But yeah, still, they lost 25 seconds. So that's probably due to the driver change because it does add time. So that does explain that at least.
So good stuff there from Conistracci and Correa Alves. Corazzari now in the third position. He's quick though. He's got some time to make up. Remember, they had that long pit stop we were speaking about, Stefan. So that's why they dropped all those positions. But how about Nunendorf? Nunendorf's into P4.
Yeah, he's sitting in P4 and he's right now 17 seconds behind P3, so he is in pretty much no man's land in front of him. But he has Lorenzo Tortella behind him. He is just 3.5 seconds away from Nunendorf, and then it's already 7 seconds back to Michi Hoyer, who is now in 6th position after the driver swap for that car.
And have a look at Corazzari here. Now into P2, straight past Ruben Correa Alves. And Corazzari into the second position. Both he and Schoonvliet trying to find their way back up into the lead. And they're trying to make amends for whether they have a 16 to 20 second advantage. It was around that range by the time they enter the pit phase. So there's a lot of time to make up now, to sort of recover. But the good news is they're only 2 seconds from the lead, so it's possible.
Yeah, they had about 18 seconds off a lead when going into pit lane, so seems like driver swap does cost you about 20 seconds over a non-driver swap stop. So we're gonna have to keep that in mind. But Conistracci nonetheless leading the race, and at this point I wonder, will he even fight against Ricciardo once he comes up to him? Or will he just try to, stick as long with him as he can to get a gap between himself and Ruben?
So now that the pit stops have finally taken place, I'm just trying to make sure everything has taken place, of course, as well. We still have the likes of Lorenzo Tortella, who I don't think's entered the pit lane. I might be wrong with that, actually. I feel like he has. But we'll go through a full rundown of the field right now. And that will start with your P1 driver of Daniele Conistracci. Rest of the top 10 includes Riccardo Corazzari, who's teammate of Arne Schoonvliet. We can confirm finally. We're all getting a bit confused with the driver swaps. And Corazzari now trying to make amends for that 16-second loss. They had the lead for most of the start of this race, but not anymore. Back in P3 is Ruben Correa Alves. Very aggressive this race, very racy. Ready to go, of course, for this 3-hour sprint, the prelude to the 12 Hours of Sebring next month. Tim Nunendorf, I told you guys. I told you he was going to be quicker towards the latter stages of this event, and he's now currently into P4. Lorenzo Tortella scored as P5, but I don't think he's entered the pit lane. So that is why Tortella finds himself into that top 5 position. Could enter it this lap around as well as he now heads towards Sunset Bend yet another time. Behind him is Michi Hoyer. Both he and Jurne Simoncic from that ACR team are in the 6th position. And Michi Hoyer, they had a long pit stop, didn't they? They lost about 10 seconds compared to the drivers of Conistracci and Correa Alves in 1st and 3rd, respectively. Tom Kapusta is in the P7 position, going well so far in this race. He's just jumped into that car. Mateo De Crop is into his second stint, so his teammate has not entered that car this race. The rest of the top 10 includes Enzo Fazzi and Paul
I have
Holt.
to quickly interrupt you there, as we have a pass now on for P1. Daniele Conestrasi just gave up that position against Riccardo Corazzari. And yeah, new leader. They're back in front, Arne Schönfleet and Riccardo Corazzari.
So new leader for the field as well. Did that look like team orders? Well, not team orders, but it looked like he just got out of the way and didn't want to waste any time.
Yeah, I think Daniele was exactly doing what I thought he's gonna do, you know, just let him pass, not lose too much time to Ruben, because that's really the guy he's fighting against. And, you know, try to stick with Ricciardo as much as he can, maybe save some fuel in the draft, and yeah, and beginning the lead against Ruben, so he's gonna be safe against him, and obviously also against Miki Hoyer.
Love it. Good scrap so far. Corazzari and Schoonfleet finally find their way back into that first position. So good stuff so far here, Stefan. How many races, do you have much leading experience in races? It's a weird experience to see no one up ahead. There's a lot of pressure on you. You just don't want to make any mistakes.
Yeah, it's exactly that. You just have to focus on your stuff, your line, your points, and just do what you're doing. Do what put you into the lead, and that's also gonna keep you in the lead. And just do your race. As I want to bring our attention here also now to the battle for P9, because they're also exactly doing that. Just doing their stuff and trying to get back up, especially Paul Holt, who lost quite a lot of time in the pit lane.
Yeah, Paul Holt, who's looked good this race, was just slowly, step by step, making up their positions so far, and now he's got Enzo Fazzi up ahead as well. Paul Holt's in that 10th position. Look at him screaming into turn 1. A whole lot of oversteer, of course, as well, trying to find the grip. Oh, goodness gracious. You know what, though? For now, we will ride on board with Paul Holt for the next couple of minutes. We'll be back in the commentary booth in just a couple of minutes' time. Myself, Jonathan Simon, and Stefan Schlacker will take a quick break. You won't miss any racing action, though, here on Studio 397's YouTube page, as well as Twitch TV at R Factor Live. So welcome back to the prelude, the 3 hours of Sebring, with all coverage today on Studio 397's YouTube page, as well as R Factor Live on Twitch TV, of course, as well. Thanks for joining us as well. Jonathan Simon in the commentary booth alongside Stefan Schlacker, Neil Hitley in, of course, with the broadcast team behind the scenes with us today. The thing is, Stefan, now, we're going to focus on Riccardo Carazzari, who currently leads the field away. Look at the time advantage he's gained on the likes of Daniele Canestracci, Ruben Correa Alves behind. He's insanely quick.
Yeah, and that in just 3 seconds, so about 2 seconds a lap so far, so very impressive from him. I would even say more impressive than what Arne did, because he put up, 18 seconds on these guys over an hour, and he just put in 6 seconds on Daniele in just 3 laps, so major pace leap there in that car.
And for the likes of Canestracci and Correa Alves behind, they've been very consistently close in terms of pace together. Is there anything they can do to catch the drivers of Skundvliet or Carazzari up ahead?
Oh, it's gonna be tough. Obviously, we don't know what their teammates are capable of doing, but as of right now, unless Ricciardo or Arne do something that is bad for the health of their car, they're gonna just keep running away with it.
So behind them includes Tim Nunendorf and Lorenzo Tortella, as well as Michi Hoyer. Let's include him in the scrap as well. Nunendorf had a good pit stop phase. Tortella, of course, as well. For Hoyer and Simoncic, no, they did not. So does this affect your mindset as a driver? Do you start to become more aggressive? Do you start to lose your rhythm? Are you under more pressure now? Or do you just carry on driving the car and finding a rhythm?
If this would be a sprint race, then probably yes. But since this is an endurance race, even though it just is 3 hours in length, changing your rhythm or trying to be more aggressive never helps you or the car. You just have to keep hitting your marks and keep improving your marks so that you can get closer to the guys in front or get back where you belong. And let's not forget, yes, they had the worst pit stop, but the driver swap time, it does add up on your pit time. So yes, they are on track behind, but virtually I think they're even in front.
So your DNS for today's event include 10 drivers. I can't count. 10 drivers, including Mikael Folscher, Mark Viet, Arwen Taruna, and Dika Rama Maulano, of course, as well as having such a splendid race until the DNF. Pim Van Ark, also a DNF, of course, along with David Antonaya. Pim Van Ark was in your top 10 at the time of his first incident, and later on DNF from the event. Jan Woznica, Erhan Yayovsky, Yuri Giesen, and David Serra out of this race. For Yayovsky as well, also had a decent race that later included a did not finish. So for the drivers behind as well, it sort of becomes a race of attrition. We've said that a million times, but it becomes ever important as well. Now that the field's starting to spread out, who is in these battles right now? Have a look at Tom Kapusta in P7. Very close to Matteo De Krop. De Krop searching for a move up the inside. De Krop is an ever-challenging challenger, isn't he? And this is one of the weirdest battles I've seen so far. What's happened to Kapusta? He's running a little bit too deep.
Yeah, he was. Oh no, he lost it over the bumps. There we go. I just saw it on the broadcast there. He lost it over the bumps, and better be safe than sorry. Giving it a break to keep the car alive and out of the barriers. So yeah, better to keep give up that position and keep the car out of the walls. Another battle that we have, it is a bit further down. That is for a 9th position between Enzo Fazzi and Paul Holt. They are also going at it, and Paul Holt, he really had the worst pit stop of our top 10 so far. He lost about 15 seconds to the guys he was fighting.
Yeah, so for Paul Holt, at least he's got the pace now to make amends for that. He's got a few more positions to make up for sure. but still in your top 10, still with an optimistic chance to improve in this race. So, by the way, you told me the Audi was it your favorite car to drive? Was it something else? Why? Why is that? What's so fun about the Audi?
You asked me what car I would choose if I had to race here, and the thing is, the Audi, it's a very agile car, and here at Sebring you need an agile car. And obviously, with the experience I have so far on the baseline, not really doing much setup work in RF2 so far in these cars, and the experience I have from iRacing, the Audi R8 is a very agile car. That's why I would choose that. But if I probably would have to go, I would go with the Racing HDMI port, the Aston Martin.
Okay, you're choosing very exquisite cars. I like it. You've gone from the Audi to the Aston Martin. You've chosen cars I could never afford in real life, which I like. That's always a good sign.
Yeah, no, me neither. I couldn't afford them either. Probably would have to get a GoFundMe page up to get one of those cars.
Little Patreon page.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's all about agileness on this track. You need to be good over the bumps. You need to, platform has to be good. It has to be stable. It has to be easy to set up, because if it takes you 4 weeks to set up a car, when on the other hand it takes you just like 4 days for the other setup to get the perfect, for the other car to get a perfect setup, then you're always going to choose the car that is easier to set up, because especially that you can focus less on a setup and much more on improving yourself.
I like that. So what's your favorite racetrack then in the world? What do you like?
That's a hard question to answer for me, because obviously I'm Austrian, so I really do like the Österreichring. Or Red Bull Ring, as it's now called.
Or the Red Bull Ring? With the old one or the new one? Which one do you like more?
They're both very similar, just the old one is faster.
Yeah.
So I like them both. But one track that I think is a gem that nobody knows about is the Salzburg Ring.
I've heard about that.
WTCR races there, for example. Even the World Superbike race there once, or not once, but quite a lot of times. I think 10 years or something like that. But who knows about World Superbike, right? But no, international raceways or racetracks that I really like to drive on is Sebring is quite high up on that list, and Bathurst. I like it challenging and tough.
Yeah, Bathurst is it's. I mean, I'm not just biased because I'm Australian, but it is one of the most entertaining racetracks out there. The problem I have with Bathurst is that it's just a little bit too long, as we see some battles on screen here. Between a few drivers, it's Enzo Fazzi on screen as well, who's very close to Paul Holt behind. But Bathurst is, I'm not a big fan of super long tracks. I think if it's around, Sebring is 5.9 kilometers. I think if you're around 5 to 6 kilometers, you're an ideal racetrack for me. Maybe 4 to 6. Because I'm a huge fan of Montreal. That's my favorite racetrack.
Yeah. When a game does not have the Red Bull Ring, then I always call Sykra-Chilvenov my hometown track.
Yeah. I like it. On that note, let's not lose track of these battles right now. There's Fazzi and Holt, who are close behind us, close to each other as well. Lorenzo Tortella is only 4/10 behind Tim Neunendorf, so he's not breaking. Neunendorf isn't breaking free from Tortella, who has one of the most delicious surnames I've heard in quite some time. But he's Tortella's looking strong in this second stint.
Yeah, and Hoyer, he's also starting to close in on those two. So the question much rather is it Tortella getting faster, or is it Neuendorf starting to drop off? So we have to keep an eye on that, because Tim Neuendorf, he looks quite a lot under pressure here from Tortella.
Looks close through Sunset Bend. He's going to climb to just over or just under 300 kilometers an hour. Had a small peak, didn't he, up the inside? Not sure if Neunendorf was affected by that at all, though. Now head through the corner. Can they find those dark patches of rubber on the racetrack where all the grip is involved as well? Track conditions Those will change throughout this race as well, Stefan. We have to say it is a dynamic track, and it is going to affect how these drivers approach this event over the next 1 hour and 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think we start with a green track in qualifying, and since qualifying the rubber is starting to build up, we have real road enabled, so it is gonna take quite some time for the rubber to build up. But once that rubber is built up, it's gonna be very sketchy to drive around the outside of someone because of all the marbles that are gonna be laid down. And Tortella, he has now look here on the inside through the hairpin into turn 7. They go side by side. Can Tortella? It's not gonna be a race of the horses here, as Tortella is able to get past Tim and Neuendorf quite easily on the throttle.
Good move from Lorenzo Tortella, now into the 4th position. And Neuendorf trying to fight his way back into that top 4 spot, but I don't think he's going to have the grit or the pace to do so through the middle stages of this event. So we're almost 90 minutes through this event. It's been a good event so far. The time ticks down, 1 hour 30. There we go now, finally into the 1 minute 29s. And look, I thought something happened to your top 2 for a second, but this is my timing screen playing up. I thought Corazzari fell into some trouble. So Corazzari leads 90 minutes into the event. I've had a kind of Strachey, then it's Correa Alves, Tortella, Neuendorf, Hoyer, De Krop, Kapusta, Holt, and Fatsi. That rounds out your top 10. Heike Kolvenbach is close behind in that 11th position as well. And we have, of course, 11 DNFs now in this event as Chris Gonzalez join those 10 in the last few minutes. Been a good event so far, Stefan. Who's your tip now? You think that Schoonvliet and Corazzari, they just seemed untouchable, right? I don't think anyone's going to touch them for the rest of this event.
Yeah, at the start of this race, as said, it's gonna be very tight, but Schoenfliet and Corazzari, they just showed how dominant they are in the race pace, and if it stays like this, they're gonna be untouchable for the rest of this race.
So let's watch Corazzari now. Let's enjoy the beauty of P1 at play. He's now going through the middle sector. Let's have a listen to him. Well, misses the apex slightly by just a touch. Let's watch this next few corners as well. Let's just stay silent for a moment. Enjoy the beauty of this P1 leader. Through the Almond Straight. Throws the car into this final corner. Looks stable, doesn't it? You know, you're going to miss an apex every now and then, Stefan. You're not going to be perfect for 3 hours straight. The closest driver I know who's this perfect is probably Martin Kroenke, who's one of the world's best sim racers. But Corazzari shows that even at a sprint event like this, 3 hours isn't a sprint. You know, it's very hard to get right for 3 hours.
I call everything that's longer than an hour, that is already endurance, because you have to keep your focus up for so long. So yeah, it is very hard. I mean, yes, you're only gonna race 1 hour at a time, but still, you have to go through quite a lot of changes throughout that time. There is Paul Holt for P10 is side by side with Enzo Fassi going into the Sunset Bend. Paul Holt starting to climb up the other again, and he is now taking a P10 here away from Enzo Fassi. So he's now your last car in the top 10 as Enzo Fassi actually goes into pit lane.
So Fassi now early pit stop. When did Fassi last enter the pits? It was it's confusing now, isn't it? Because it wasn't that long ago Enzo Fassi was in the pit lane. This is unscheduled for sure. Unless it's an odd strategy that you can think of that I'm not thinking of right now. This is definitely not. This deviates from the norm.
Yeah, it sure as hell does. And I don't know, maybe he has some damage, or his tires are completely shot, or... Yeah, well, I don't... The list is endless of what could be the problem here right now.
So we'll keep an eye on this because we saw this before, didn't we, with a few drivers earlier on, and yeah, this definitely isn't. Oh, this definitely isn't important right now. So, oh, well, not important. It is important. It definitely isn't scheduled right now. Enzo Fazio losing more and more positions. Now exits his box. Definitely unscheduled, I think, there, Stefan. Enzo Fazio now, you can see in the track map, all the way down in P25.
Yeah, first car a lap down now. I don't know, the stop was long enough to be scheduled with tires and fuel, so... Yeah, maybe he just punished his tires too much, or didn't even, you know, pit for tires and they just had to. As Tortella is coming in the pit lane now. Very interesting strategy, starting to fold out here.
So while this all takes place, Tortella's into the pit lane, and Lorenzo Tortella now servicing the car. I reckon this could be strategy, to be honest with you, because a few drivers now coming in with 90 minutes remaining. This could work. So let's have a look at this nevertheless. Correzzata is untouched in that P1 position. I think him and Schoonfield have, if not one hand on the trophy, Stefan, 9 fingers. If you don't consider thumbs as fingers, well, what is it? 8 fingers, 1 thumb on the trophy? I don't know. I'm confused now. 9 fingers on the trophy. They are so, like, literally that quick right now. It's just, I reckon, a mechanical failure or a... and don't get me started on lapped cars, but they've cost me a lot in my career. But that could be another thing that could come into play.
Well, first off, every thumb is a finger, but not every finger is a thumb. And yeah, as you said, traffic can potentially be a problem, but to be honest, the race isn't that much split up right now. If you can pretty much see how much space there is on the track map around him right now. It takes him about half a lap to get into some traffic for the very first time that is really gonna hinder him in his pace. So yeah, Ricciardo, I honestly think as of right now, he is completely safe as long as he keeps it out of the dirt and out of the walls.
Yeah, so still watching Correa Alves right now on this main straight, as we were saying. Turn 1, such a beautiful side is turn 1, isn't it? You know, the thing I like about that first corner is, as a driver, the challenge. Well, I don't like it, I hate it, because it's such a challenge, but it's just, it's so difficult to pick a marker and a turning point, and you always seem to get the corner wrong every time. That's the difficult part. Like, that's when you know a racetrack's good, when it's that hard of a challenge.
Yeah, most definitely. It is a big challenge because you have no markings on the ground like in other, or pretty much every other corner here where you have a line for every 100 meters or yards or whatever they're measuring here with those boards.
I never get what they're measuring with those boards. I'm always like, is it meters? Is it feet? Is it yards? I'm always confused. It doesn't feel like 100.
No, I think they're measuring feet. 100 feet. Yeah, it does seem like feet. Anyways, it is hard. You have to adjust, but at one point you're always gonna find, oh, look, I'm braking there. Did I brake the last lap there too? Yeah. Hey, wait, I can take that as a braking marker because even if you don't consciously look at something as your braking marker, subconsciously you're always knowing exactly, oh, that's my braking marker, I have to brake now.
So while we're talking about braking, Paulie Ahonen has spun, and an error there for Paulie. He's now in, I think he's in P13 live, so he's definitely spun in that first sector, and he's made a huge mistake as we look and ride on board. Well, we ride alongside Michi Hoyer right now. He's searching for a move on Tim Neunendorf, who has been in that 4th position since the pit stop phase at the last hour mark, about 40 minutes ago. Hoyer is extremely close right now to Nunendorf. Could he make his way past? Come on, Mitchie. Just need a good run right now. I think I'm getting impatient, aren't I, Stefan? He can make the move anytime in the next hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's all good though. As Enzo Fazzi just left the server and stored his car in the garage. So another DNF there. So it might have been some damage. Oh, who is that? That is a lapped car being way off track there into the barrier. But yeah, Michi Hoyer, I think, you know, it's this time of the race right now. We're already 9 minutes past halfway. So what are you gonna do? How is your strategy? How much on or off course are you of your strategy now? Of course, meaning both plus and minus, because if you're high up the ranks and you expect it to be right now, even that changes your strategy quite extensively, because it might make you take less or more risks depending on how or what kind of a driver you are. So Michi, I think he's right now looking, hey, where can I go faster than him? Where is he slower than me? Can I take advantage of one of his racing lines? And yeah, just do that and then see, because that's always the most safest way to pass someone. Taking their weak spots away from them and using them to your advantage.
Mitchie and I raced against each other a few years ago. He's an interesting battle, to say the least. I'm not going to say anything more than that. But he's been part of that ACR team for... It's been 3 years now? 4 years? He's been in that team for quite a while. It's good to see that, though, these days, Stefan, because a lot of people are chopping and changing teams. I remember there's one driver, I'm not going to say their name just to save him embarrassment, but I think they've been on like 7 or 8 teams since 2014. But... And which is true, by the way. It's not a lie.
I think it's you know, that time of the esports where if you really want to be somewhere, you're more likely to jump around teams and, you know, always take the better opportunity and stuff like that. So it's hard to say. Some people, you have like your Messis who are gonna stay with the same club until they die, or team in this case. But then you have the people who think that, you know, the grass is greener over there, so I'm gonna go over there because greener grass is always better unless it's painted green.
Yeah, exactly. Artificial turf. You don't want that.
Nope.
The stewards as well have sent a warning out. Warning a tongue. Blue flags must be respected within 4 turns. I wish they'd sent that out in my career, because I had a lot of lap cars that didn't obey blue flags at all and cost me some race wins.
And suddenly I have Sebastian Vettel shouting into my ears, blue flag, blue flag!
I agree with him, though. They need to get out of the way. Look how close Hoyer is right now to Nunendorf.
And yeah, Neuer, he does seem like quite a lot stronger on brakings than Neuendorf, but Neuendorf just that much better out of the turns, which kind of makes me wonder, does Michi not have new tires? Because he really can't, or he's always losing ever so slightly out of turns when it's a hard acceleration zone.
Which would be odd, because they did have a very long pit stop, so surely they took tires as well. We'll find out anyway if Hoyer can get past within the next few laps. They have lost about 20 seconds to Corey Alves and kind of Strachey up ahead, of course, as well. Hoyer now into Sunset Bend. No move for Mitchie. Still close behind Nunendorf, though, packing on the pressure. This is the closest he's been throughout this second stint right now, and he's doing a good job so far for sure. Nunendorf takes some very wide lines. I love how Nunendorf is pretty much on point in terms of how close he is to the walls. He knows how close he can get without making contact. He's really in a good zone right now. He's in a good state of zen.
Yeah, you're saying this, but they have to be careful about the crop behind them. He is getting closer. He's now just 4 seconds behind them. And he was already 7 seconds behind them, so Michi Hoyer, he has to be careful about that fact too, because he can't, or probably does not want to have a third car in this fight for P4.
All right, we're going to get the YouTube chat involved right now. YouTube chat, tip. What minute is Michi Hoyer going to get past Tim Neunendorf? Because right now, you look at the clock, there is... Oh, God, I can't see the clock.
Or
It's
Twitch
1 hour
chat.
and 15 minutes. Yeah, or Twitch chat, sorry, of course, as well. 1 hour, 15 minutes left in this event. We got 111 so far. I like this. People are now starting to make some... We should put some money on this as well. We'll wait and see. Twitch chat, by the way, needs to be a bit more active. The only question I've seen in the past 2 hours is whether or not the track's been laser scanned. It's been asked 4 times. I think that's a joke.
Yeah. Twitch chat not very active. Everyone's watching it. I like that Mike Bello clock.
Oh, Hoyer spun, by the way. Sorry to interrupt. Hoyer spun. The second curse of the day. De Krop has managed to make his way past as well. Michi Hoyer's lost it at Sunset Bend, pushing a little bit too deep into the corner as well. Look how close he and De Krop are alongside each other now, heading into turn 1. Matteo De Krop won't give up an inch too easily, and Hoyer now has to struggle with tires that are definitely not at ideal temperature, and he has to concede that spot. So Hoyer had a look at P4, now down into P6.
Yeah, second commentator course there of the day, and both by you.
Yeah,
I'm impressed so far. But also one thing that I just realized, I pretty much forgot about this fact. Tim Neundorf, he is our only 650S in this race. And he is 4th, so he's proving a lot of 720S drivers wrong, because the only 720S that is in front of him is Daniele Conistrassi in 2nd place.
Conistracci having a good race. For Hoyer, though, it's taking a turn for the worse, though. Have a look at Paul Holt as well in the 9th position, close to Heiko Kolvenbach. Paul Holt now creeping in lap after lap. Last lap out, Holt set a 2 minute 1.267 for Heiko Kolvenbach. 2 minute 2.241. So, definitely creeping in.
Yeah, definitely creaking in. And one thing I just saw, Pauli Ahonen, we mentioned him earlier with his spin. He had to retire his car. He's out with suspension damage. So that leaves us now with 26 cars remaining on the racetrack.
Yeah, so a race of attrition, as we said. Starting to come into play, of course, as well. 12-hour events coming up soon in March. Will there be less DNFs in that event? People will take it a little bit more seriously, of course.
Seriously, they're gonna take it easier. A lot of people view this 3-hour race more like a sprint race than endurance race. So you're gonna have that. You're also gonna have the 3 different classes. So they're gonna be more careful when fighting and stuff like that. So I think the 12-hour race, it is also once again gonna be an attrition race, but much later into race and much less.
So I'm trying to think. Let's get the chat involved once again. This will sound like a weird question, but let's have a bit of fun. You can choose any of these GT3 cars, chat. But you're only allowed 1 car for your first date with your now wife or girlfriend or spouse. Which car of these would you choose to take her on? That's the question of the day, surely. Send in your suggestions, send in your answers through the chat, whether it's Twitch as well. Plenty of options available in rFactor. The GT3 Challengers pack came out recently, of course, as well. rFactor's got a great variety when it comes to GT3.
You know, if I take a swing at that question too, I would choose the Audi R8 because it has an additional point where you get you know, one of those carriages that you put on your roof. it actually has that option for that car. So you would gain a more space on your car to carry stuff around.
Yeah. Already loving, already loving the answers. Not just from you. Now I'm reading the answers from the chat as well. Even Neil Heatley behind the scenes here. Neil Heatley says the Bentley because the engine is throaty, and it's 150 mile per hour country mansion. Who doesn't love that? That's probably the best answer we've ever received for any question in our life. That's excellent. Neil Heatley getting involved as well. He's part of our production team for today. I don't know what car I would pick. See, the thing is, I wouldn't care to impress other people. I'd pick the car I like. I'd probably go for the McLaren. In terms of like driving experience, I'd love to go the McLaren. In terms of looks, I probably like the Audi or the Bentley.
Yeah, it's hard to say. By the way, in case you're a Bentley fan and are rooting for the one Bentley we had in this race, had is here the word. He already had sadly to DNF this race down in 28th. So they also sadly had to retire already out of this car race.
So I'm looking at the chat right now for the race. Are you a fan of, like, for example, if a guy who receives blue flags lets you pass and you're in P3, do you have to say thank you to every car that lets you pass? I feel like that just distracts me as a driver.
I do say that, but I most likely never say it on the race server in voice chat, because most of the time I'm not having that button bound to my wheel, as Paul Holt takes a Dorifto around Tower Bend here in a 9th place behind Heiko Kolbenbach.
Lost some time from that too.
Yeah, quite some time actually, and his tires probably also didn't like that all too much. But yeah, it always depends. I don't like when people jump out of the way. That throws me off the most. Stay on the racing line, and I'm gonna make my way around you because that's my job. I have to make it safe for you and me to get past you. Obviously, if it's a long straight and I'm flying up to you, then yeah, sure, get out of the racing line and slow down a bit. But yeah, to get back, saying thank you, it's just a nice little add-on. And as long as it doesn't distract you, because some drivers really don't like to have anyone talk to them ever during their stints.
Yeah, exactly. Depends. I'm a driver who I love talking. Maybe that's part of the reason why I was so inconsistent. But I think you're right. Like, I think maybe when I didn't talk as much, I got into that rhythm. But I hated, like, when I did endurance races, which was like never. I did like 2 in my whole life because I don't know. It's too long. But whenever someone would say, I'd always read in the chat, I get distracted. Someone saying thank you every 30 seconds. Number 1, I get you being polite. Number 2, aren't you getting distracted? Number 3, why are you saying thank you to someone that is obliged to do it? Like, they have to let you pass. It's not like they chose to let you pass.
Unless they did.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's some take it to the extreme, and that can be throwing off. Yeah. But I have a nice story there about the community manager here at Studio 397, René Butler. He has to talk to stay concentrated, because then he's gonna concentrate too much and gonna crash. And there are points where he can get so bored that he starts to literally sing while driving the car. So yeah, that was an interesting choice of staying focused.
Paul Holt runs deep heading into Sunset Bend. Look ahead though, Kolbenbach now all over the rear end of Kapusta. Let's have a look at this battle.
Yeah, coming out of Le Mans, going into Sunset Bend now, and look at that braking by Heiko.
So close, wasn't it? Kapusta now on the exit. I don't think he's going to be able to floor it here, but he's just going to lose a lot of time. Paul Holt now. Next on his list is Kapusta, not Kolbenbach.
That was very impressive braking skill there by Heiko, just going so deep and keeping the car together. good job by him. They're taking that 7th position away from Tom Kapusta. Let's see, who is the next car for Heiko on the list? And that would be Michi Hoyer, but he is 10 seconds ahead.
Do you think Hoyer is going to be able to, if it's not Hoyer, it's going to be Simoncic? One of those two will be able to climb their way back up into the top 4, depending on who climbs into that car for the final stint.
I think that Michi is gonna stay in the car till the end. That they're only gonna switch one time, because you're gonna have 33% covered with one stint, so you're gonna be safe with that. So yeah, I think that Michi is gonna stay in the car for the end of the race.
And look at this battle as well. This is for P16 between Lorenzo Arisi, Yao Batallas, and there's Augusto Arias trying to find his way past Batallas. There is contact as well, of course, as well. Josh Hoare now involved, of course, as well in the scrap, but Arias there got a little bit too... Oh, I don't know what happened there, of course. There was definitely contact between the two. Not sure who was to blame, of course, but at the end of the day, Arias is the one who took the turn for the worst.
There might be a code 80 here because of Arias very hurting.
He's still slow, isn't he?
Yeah, he is still slow, he's still hurting, but I think he's fast enough to not trigger a code 80 here. But let's see if Jimmy decides to do one though. Oh, he goes off very hard now. Let's see, does that trigger a code 80? Oh, what is that, rejoin?
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to rejoin a lot safer than that. If there are any kids watching this, switch off right now. You don't want to be watching that. Paul Holt, by the way, has entered the pit lane. And this should be the final pit stop for the race, I presume, for Paul Holt and the team.
This surely has to be a code 80 as Augusto once again spins. Jimmy, do something. Yes, there we have the confirmation. And now Paul Holt, he is the very lucky guy here. He is in pit lane, obviously losing very little time here. And surely if you're coming around through Sunset Bend now, you're gonna take that pit stop as Joao Pitaes decides to jump out of pit lane entry here again. But yeah, code 80, you're gonna be on the pit limiter around because the pit limit here is 80 kilometers an hour. So nobody is able to speed in pit lane, although I once managed to do that, strangely enough.
So, really? Anyway, we'll talk about that later. So this is the perfect time to make a pit stop, isn't it, right now? You save the most time in this event.
Yeah, you're gonna save a massive amount of time here when you take the code 80 pit stop here, because the delta time, the pit stop delta time is gonna be extremely low compared to the 50 seconds pit lane delta that you're gonna have.
Can I say though, there are some teams where if their second driver isn't ready, there are some teams who haven't had the second driver step in. So the second driver's got to quickly get in, get ready. They're going to make the pit stop and make the driver swap. That's something you need to look out for as well.
Well, we're about 3 minutes, 4, 5, well, let's say 5 minutes away from the pit stop. So pretty sure at this point your second driver has to be ready. If not, that's going to be very interesting.
That's going to cost drivers who aren't ready. But as Stefan said, most of the drivers should be in here regardless, because that last pit stop was coming up. We'll see whether or not anybody else jumps in. I'm having a look at the drivers potentially coming in. There's going to be definitely a few changes. I feel like possibly Nico Barclay might be entering the car again. We'll wait and see. Paul Holtz jumped out of his car.
By the way, Ruben Correa Alves is in pit lane right now.
Okay, so Correa Alves, good time to make the pit stop, of course, as well. They need to make the driver swap. Correa Alves has been in that car for the entirety of this event so far, and you'll want second driver to come in. Going to be close. They've lost the third position. But this could pay dividends come the end of the race, I feel like, right now for Correa Alves. If they don't gain that P1 position, certainly into that second slot.
Yeah, nobody else is taking the pit so far. So next car is gonna be... I don't know who the next car is, actually, that did take already the pit stop, but they're still in pit lane. And as you said, it's gonna take them a lot of time off their pit stop because they pitted about 15 seconds before they went back to green flag.
Heijnen enters the car for Correa Alves. So Kevin Heijnen enters the car for the first time today, of course, as well. This will be his first laps exiting the pit lane. They're in P12. How about that? Just ahead of Yao Pitayes. So looking at the track map, look at the clear air they have there as well. From that 12th position, you see the number 12. It's in the first sector at the moment. There they are on screen. It's now colored in blue for you. A lot of free track, a lot of clear air. Maybe, I don't think they'll gain the first position on Kurtzari or Schoonveld, but as I said, Stefan, that second position, it's not even optimistic. I think they've almost got it sealed right now as the drivers head towards racing speed. We're also approaching 1 hour left in the event, and we cross that mark now for the first time. Less than 60 minutes remaining.
I had a quick scroll through the YouTube chat, and some people are concerned that they might not make it on fuel. So that will be interesting to keep an eye out if they are safe or not, because they did pit around the 1 hour mark. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that and see if they can make it.
So that will all come into play, of course, as well. Plenty to discuss. At the same time, Kurtzari, well, they could have possibly made that pit stop. I'm still looking at other drivers waiting. Oh, Kurtzari, by the way, I'm keeping an eye on him, has made a mistake. But as I said, I'm just getting a bit nervous right now. I'm just trying to see whether or not this race is going to come into play. But let's have a look at your top 10 so far with just under an hour left in this event. It includes Riccardo Kurtzari, who has just made a slight error heading into turn 10 and picks it up on the exit. It's only lost about half a second there in the lead so far. Both he and Arne Schoonveld have had a brilliant race so far. They are followed by Daniele Canestracci. We know, of course, as well, drivers behind of Kevin Heijnen, who's currently in P11, could possibly be in the top 3, but they've made their pit stop. De Krop is in 3rd. Nunendorf is in 4th. Hoyer 5th. Heiko Kolvenbach is in the 6th position. The rest of your top 10 includes Tom Kapusta, Maciej Milinek, Michael Nitzio, and Martin Durland. And you can see the rest of your standings on screen. Now, Kurtzari enters the pit lane, and this, I don't know if this will be a driver change, but it's certainly the final pit stop of the day. Possibly a driver change, because Schoonveld is waiting to get into the car.
Yeah, and while they're in pit lane, 3 drivers received drive-through penalties, possibly because of Code 80 infractions. They're Luca Di Amelio, Akira Iwata, and John Melchior are the 3 cars that have to take a drive-through penalty there, but they're all way behind in the field.
So Canestracci enters the pit lane as well. And Riccardo Kurtzari also in the pit lane, of course, too. So once Schoonveld jumps into the car, De Krop enters the pit lane. It seems like all the cars should be entering the pits. Nunendorf wants to lead a lap, though, finally, and that will take place possibly. He's followed by Hoyer. Those 2 don't enter the box, but Kolbenbach in. Kapusta stays out.
Oh,
how about...
Very interesting news just in. Kevin Heijnen with a drive-through penalty. So his teammate in the Code 80 probably screwing up and being too fast there on the beginning. So heartbreaking news for Kevin Heijnen, not doing anything wrong, and possibly even with a shot on P2 there, having to serve a drive-through.
So a lot of drive-through penalties assigned right now. Tim Nunendorf a drive-through penalty. Mitchie Hoyer as well. That's your top 2. Going back to the lead right now, Arne Schoonveld enters the car, and he is going to be your provisional leader so far. Canestracci still in the pit lane, and Daniele still waiting to exit the pit. So Arne is out and away, possibly on our way to a victory here, of course. But the big news, of course, is Nunendorf, Hoyer, and now also other news is Heiko Kolbenbach also with a drive-through penalty. So things have gone wrong through that Code 80.
Yeah. Wow. Look at how many people are now affected here. Tom Kapusta now also with a penalty. He's right now in 3rd place. A lot of people getting screwed up because they are not obeying to the speed limit, not braking early enough to get down to the pit limiter here. And yeah, heartbreaking news. Michael Nisio now, we're starting to be faster here with telling you who didn't get a drive-through penalty from this Code 80.
So interesting outcome here right now. And all those penalties were for speeding during the Code 80. That's confirmed by Jimmy Allison, our race director. So it's a difficult procedure, isn't it? As Nunendorf and Hoyer enter the pit right now. I don't know if this is for a drive-through or for a change, but it's a difficult procedure, isn't it, the Code 80? It's more difficult than people anticipate.
Yeah, you have to know how long can you go until you have to brake to be down to the pit limiter. It's mostly about the 4 to 3 second mark, sometimes in some cars even on the 2 second mark there. But yeah, as I said, you have to be careful because it's very tricky to get that right, and you can hurt your tires very much if you lock up those tires.
So out and away, Nunendorf from the drive-through penalty. Martin Durla now in the 2nd position. Oh god, this field is spread out quite a lot right now. Hoyer's entered the pit lane. I'm just trying to see. I don't know if Simoncic will enter the car because there's no Simoncic waiting to jump in. So it looks like Hoyer may end this race. But, oh god, I'm lost right now. I don't know what's going on right now.
Yeah, we have pit stops going on, we have the drive-throughs going on, so we really have to wait for about 2 to 3 more laps until we know who is gonna be where and when.
Hoyer out and away, so I don't think Simoncic will jump into that car. Hoyer's going to complete the race for ACR so far. Where's Arne Schoenvliet? I did call him, I think, the race winner by accident before. I meant he's got one hand on the trophy. Apologies for that. There's no conspiracy theories, ladies and gentlemen.
You know what? One guy who did really benefit from this carnage so far is Tony Janssen. He's right now 5th and 2nd pit stop cleaned, and he is the teammate of Paul Holt, who was in 9th place coming into pit lane before this Code 80.
So interesting stuff there, of course, as well. Let's see if Tim Nunendorf will enter the pits this time round.
Surely has to.
Yeah, because he has to. Yeah. There you go. I mean, what were the fuel issues you were talking about before? Like, these drivers wouldn't be able to make it on fuel if they didn't pit.
Yeah, no, there were some guys that did pit in the Code 80. There were concerns that they're not gonna make it. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, we'll have to see. Who is that behind Neuendorf who crashed into him? That was Philip Pacos who crashed into the rear of Neuendorf there on leaving his pit stall, who is right behind Tim Neuendorf's.
Well, guess who's climbed back into the lead, ladies and gentlemen? It's Arne Schoenvliet. He's back into the lead. Your race winner. No, I'm joking. Your potential race winner right now is currently in P1. And he's having a good race so far. Tony Janssen, who is currently in the... Where's Tony going to end up? In 2nd position. This field is... it's really jumped up all over the place right now. Goran Djordjevic is in the 3rd position. They've had a good race so far. Djordjevic jumped in, of course, as well for his teammate. So they'll look to claim a 2nd podium position. Now, don't forget as well, the big announcement for this event was that the 12 Hours of Sebring will be coming up in mid-March. And that, of course, as well, will include prize money as well as along with other prizes, of course, as well. The top 3 from this race will gain access to that race in March as well. They'll gain a nice little entry and invitation based on their results. So maybe first, second, third, it's all for bragging rights, but third and fourth, that's where the battle will start to heat up for sure.
Well, second, third, and fourth are within 5 seconds of each other right now, so it might actually heat up for that P2 battle between them. Fifth place already 10 seconds behind fourth place, so probably nothing to worry about there. But yeah, it can come down to these three guys battling for P2, and then there's gonna be one guy who missed out just by a few tenths for that third place.
So let's have a look at your top 10 now, finally, now that it's all shuffled all over the place. Arne Schoenvliet is in the first position, leads by 30 seconds ahead of Tony Jansen. Goran Jordovic is in that third position. They are your three that will receive invitation to the 12 Hours of Sebring later on in March. Kevin Heijnen is in the fourth position, followed by Matthew Beavis, Rick Van Isle, and Roy de Munich are in 6th and 7th, followed by Michi Hoyer, Josh Hoare, and Alex Woitala, rounding out your top 10 for this race. So, let's ride on board with the driver of Arne Schoenvliet in that first position. He is leading this race, and he's driven splendidly so far. He jumps into the car for the second time at this event. You are watching the prelude, the 3 Hours of Sebring. We'll be back in a few minutes' time. Don't leave us. The end of the race will be coming shortly. Welcome back to coverage of the Prelude. For 3 hours of Sebring here live on Studio 397's YouTube channel, as well as R Factor Live at Twitch TV. So, right now we're watching a battle between Goran Jordovic and Kevin Heikkinen, and this is a real good scrap in this race. I think Heikkinen right now, they had the drive-through penalty, didn't they, earlier? And look how close he is right now to Jordovic. Maybe a move possibly here into turn 10 and up the inside. What a great time to come back to coverage here, Stefan, as Heikkinen now climbs into the top 3, the invitational slot.
Yeah, and Heikkinen once again proving Cunningham is a viable overtaking spot here on this track. So, yeah, great job to him, not leaving any doubt to that overtake over Goran Jordovic. And now the question is, can he get close or closer to Tony Janssen, who started to creep away from that battle, trying to secure his second place over those two guys?
So we talked about Arndt Schoolfield leading the field away. Tony Janssen as well doing a good job in that second position. Your top 3, don't forget, we'll mention it one more time, will gain invitation to the 12 Hours of Sebring that will take place on possibly the 23rd of March. Everything is to be confirmed, of course, as well, but that should be the final date. And that, of course, will include prizes, prize money, of course, as well, and plenty of big name talent, which is most important for quality racing for 12 hours. 12 hours of endurance action. And Stefan, plenty of cars involved for that event as well. It's going to be a typical endurance race like we expect.
Yeah, it's gonna be an endurance race. It's gonna be an endurance field size, if I remember correctly, what they told us. Obviously, nothing is set in stone yet. We have to say that every time because it's so far in the future. It's a full month ahead in the future, and nothing has been officially announced yet. So everything is still subject to change. But yeah. Goran, he's still not letting up of this third place. He is still trying to get back into that qualifying spot to be safe for the race. But as far as he and his teammate raced so far, they deserved that spot as much as everyone else in this race so far.
Other racing action taking place throughout the field. There's a battle for P5. That includes Matthew Beavis, Roy Demunic in the 6th position. Those two in a good little scrap as well. Josh Horo and Rick Van Isle.
Whoa!
In the
What
7th and 8th
is
position.
with L? He lost his rear wing. Where is his rear wing all of a sudden? Into the barrier he goes. That might be another Code 80 right here.
So this could really play to the hands of a few drivers, not to others. But for the likes of Rick Van Isle, he'll have to enter the pit lane. Just as we were speaking about him, that car looks completely damaged. It's done. It's shot. The Aston Martin there, unfortunately for
There
Rick Van Isle. Is there going to be a Code 80? There it is. So hopefully no speeding penalties for some drivers here, because the last one ended up in a bit of a shambles. So this is such an important time of the race, Stefan, to not get wrong.
Tony Janssen just entered the pit lane. What is he? Why is he in pit lane all of a sudden? What is happening there? He missed his pit stall even.
Oh, he missed his box as well.
Oh, I think he wasn't able to make it on fuel, so that puts Goran Jordovic again back into the 3rd place spot. So
yeah, because Jansen's last pit stop, I might have got this wrong. I'm just trying to check.
it was right on the Code 80. That's
yeah.
when they pitted. So yeah, it seems like YouTube chat was right there, and they weren't able to make it on fuel there. So better be safe than sorry, taking that time to fuel up again. And he lost about, what is that, 10 seconds? Or, yeah, about 8 seconds what he lost there.
So if we look at the track map right now, Janssen we've got some clear air up ahead. But the person who's got the most clear air is, ironically, your race leader, which is perfect for them. So everything's going well for Schoonvliet.
There we go. Neil just with the info there for us. Thank you, Neil. Playing our director there today. Fun Ellie went to wide at Sunset Bend and hit the tire barriers on the outside on the exit. So that made him lose his rear wing, because I was already wondering what made him lose that, because he was nowhere near anyone that he could have battled with, as he played with the pit entry there. But yeah, he is into pit lane now, so we should get off the pit or the code 80 here any moment. By the way, a nice battle forming up for P8 there. 4 cars right behind each other. There we go. Off into the green flag we go again, and we're following here the battle here for P8 between Matze Mulnik, Michi Hoyer, the 2 teammates there for ACR Zach Speed. Mike Voigt in his only 650S here, doing still very good here, and Nico Barclay. So it's 3 720Ss and 1 650S, the McLaren pack for P8. Michi Hoyer most likely thinking to himself, don't hit your teammate, don't hit your teammate, don't hit your teammate. Repeating that over and over, because as we know, first rule is don't hit your teammate.
And Hoyer now, oh, he's so close, isn't he? They should be a lot higher up in the order. They just haven't had the race that has come their way for both he and Simic. They've gone backwards since qualifying, of course, as well. They did qualify in that 3rd position. And right now, Hoyer very close to his teammate up ahead, as you said as well. Those ACR cars, that team has come a long way. First established in 2014. Now 5 years later, definitely a popular team amongst the sim racing community. But Hoyer right now, what's he got to do, you know, to pick up the pieces in this race? Started 3rd, in 9th. You've got to get a top 10 finish for sure.
Yeah, you've got to get that, but he's most likely gonna kick his butt for the mistakes he did. Update, by the way, on Tony Janssen. He is, as I got myself quite nicely there, he is 8 seconds behind 3rd place, so he's not out of contention, but he is also not there.
So, rounding out the top 10 once again, Schoonfleet leads, Heijnen 2nd, Jordovic 3rd, then it's Janssen, De Munich, Beavis, Voitala, Milanek, Hoyer, and Voigt. That is your top 10 as well. Nico Barclay back in his car is just outside that top 10 spot. He's 1 second behind Mike Voigt as they head towards the turn 7 hairpin. Yet another time right now as we look at Mike Voigt in that 10th position. Barclay creeping in closer and closer, because that train from Milanek, Hoyer, Voigt, and Barclay, boy, is this a battle that's going to come into play in these late stages.
Yeah, and you have Martin Durlund in behind in that Aston. He is also coming quite a lot closer, quite fast. So he is probably going to try to go through those 4 cars as fast as he can, because he does seem like quite a lot faster than the others. And then there's also Josh Hoare behind, who's also getting closer and closer to these guys.
Barclay's looked good this race, though. It's good to see him back in the car. He was one of those drivers early on in the event, Stefan, where he looked ultra aggressive. He looked confident, you know? I think that's a better way to put it. Ultra aggressive sounds more negative than it does positive. He just looked confident. He looked like he knew what he was doing. Possibly look good in these final 30 minutes right now if he still has the energy.
Yeah, at this point, it's all about the energy. We're right now having here pretty much midnight Central European time. So, yeah, the attrition or your energy yourself is starting to come into play. As Michi Hoyer, he's really under pressure here from Mike Voigt. Let's see what the 2 can do here. Mike Voigt on the outside with his 650S against that 720 on the inside. Look at that, Mike Voigt helping for that P9, but has to stick back yet again.
How close is this between the two in the first sector? Voigt. Oh, he's all over the rear end of Hoyer right now as they head through 6 and 7 now. Turn 6, the right-hander. Turn 7, hairpin coming up right now. Oh, the battle's now coming back into play with half an hour ago. This is the beauty of endurance racing. Barclay under brakes. Durland also joining the scrap, of course, as well. While this is all taking place, Michi Hoyer's teammate of Magic Milanek up ahead is broken away by 2 seconds. So a bit of breathing room for Milanek, of course, too. Look at this 4-car train. It's etching closer and closer, corner by corner.
Yeah, and these two guys up in front, they're holding each other up. That means they're also holding up Nico Barclay, and that really plays Martin Durland in his cards, because look at how much faster he is out of the turns as he just disconnected from the server.
Oh, goodness. So, technical issues for Durland. And his race is, well, it's definitely taking a turn for the worse. I'm not sure if it's over, depending on whether or not he can get that car back out. But nevertheless, Hoyer, Voigt, Barclay remain now. What a bizarre situation here with half an hour remaining.
It's incredible how much turns this race is taking here so far. It's already having way more turns than the track itself, and that has already many with 17s. So yeah, but let's see what Voigt can do with his 650S, trying to show that 720S who is a boss.
So Voigt now, well, the first sector is going to be difficult to make a pass, but turn 7's your next realistic overtaking spot. Then it's the end of the Almond Straight. Oh, there's issues right now, I think. For Voigt.
What was
the wall.
that for Voigt there?
So more technical issues come into play. That looked a bit odd. I don't think I blame that on Mike Voigt. Something definitely went wrong in the cockpit of the car. He just slowed down on the apex. Almost to a complete halt. You don't have any reasoning for that?
Other than a pedal failure, no. He just went straight into the barrier too. I have no idea what went wrong there on his side. Losing a lot of position and possibly having also quite a lot of damage there from that wall hit.
The question is now, well, not the question, the first thing is, Nico Barclay made contact with the driver of Mike Voigt. So whether or not he has front end damage, possibly, maybe just a slight bit of a scar or two, you can band-aid that up possibly. He's lost a second or two to Michi Hoyer up ahead. So now we had a 4-car fight 1 lap ago. Now it's into nothing. No one's involved yet again. Now, talking about stuff going on, Tony Jansen's into the pit lane. Tony Jansen demotes themselves from the 4th position. They're into the pits. Very late pit stop. This will be for fuel, I presume. It'll be a very, very quick pit stop. Oh, and they missed their box.
I wonder if he underfueled his car yet again.
So huge issues.
And Direlund has now completely retired his car, so they're completely out of contention, leaving us now with what is that, 24 cars remaining on the racetrack.
So out of 40 starters, we have almost half the field about to end this race right now. Oh, this is bizarre in these late stages, but at least we still have probably the quickest driver out there today still running, so a well-deserved possible winner if they can keep it together for these last 30 minutes of the event. Are these an energetic last 30 minutes? Are they nerve-wracking? Are they tiring? How do you describe the last 30 minutes of a 3-hour race?
It always depends where you're at position-wise and do you have someone to fight against. Mostly they're the longest 30 minutes of your life, of your racing life, because the corners feel like they're kilometers long. The straights feel like they're light years long. So you just have to get through that grind and make the best that you can. And as always, hit your marks, stay clean, stay out of the wall, and yeah, just keep it together.
So let's look at the driver of Goran Jordovic in the third position. He's hunting down this driver on screen of Kevin Heisnen. And these two are a couple of seconds apart now. Lap times last time round. Goran Jordovic, a 2-minute 1.3. For Kevin Heisnen, 2-minute 1.3. Now, I'm confused. What does that mean? Does that mean they're not going to change towards these latter stages? And remember, Heisnen actually had to serve a drive-through penalty as well, so he should be a lot further up the order.
Yeah, drive-through, it's gonna cost you about probably like 10 seconds on the delta time, so it's not too much. He still would only be 12 seconds ahead, so still, if he would make a big mistake, he'd still be in troubles. But I think Kevin has the pace, and really at this point, it's only about brain rights between the two, because the next car is 14 seconds back on these two.
Alex Hoytala is in the 6th position. Alex Hoytala's had a quiet, consistent race. It's a good sign. Quiet, consistent race. Nothing to complain about. Do you want to be in the action, making up positions?
Speaking actually about action, it's Tony Janssen against Jimmy Nusola in 12th position right now, side by side into Cunningham. And just to quickly pick this up, yeah, quite a race where you pick up a lot of positions is always a good race.
I like that. It's a positive sign. Look at Nusola right now. Let's look at him in this scrap with Tony Janssen. I think Nusola will probably concede that position for the rest of this event as Janssen now makes their way through after that late pit stop. Tony Janssen through what is Le Mans, or otherwise renamed. What was it renamed as? Oh, look at Nusola right now, very close here. Let's focus on this more. On the Ulmann Straight, Nusola will have a good slipstream advantage right now. Possibly could force Tony Janssen offline heading into Sunset Bend.
Yes, but the Corvette is quite a top speed monster, not gaining enough there to go side by side into Sunset Bend, so Jimmy has to stick back and, very sideways there over the bumps. Keeps it together, but that's gonna cost him on the run on Tony, for turn 1.
Nusola close to Janssen. Now going for the switchback, heading into turn 3 right now. This is such a tight overtaking spot between the two. This is a scrap for P12 late in the event. Nusola finds their way ahead now after Janssen's pit stop. Good start from Yimi Nusola. And with just under half an hour left in this event, that is a good maneuver for your confidence into these final stages. Other drivers in some close scraps, of course, as well. Well, everyone's within 2 seconds of each other right now. So in your top 14, everyone's separated by 1:43. There are about 5 battles or potential battles I can see coming towards the end of this event for important positions. Although we do know, Stefan, the top 3 will receive the invitation into that 12 hours of Sebring later on in March next month.
Yeah, as you said, it's all about the glory for the first 3 guys here, and then we're gonna see probably a battle between Heitinen and Djordjevic for the bragging rights, and then everything behind, once again, it's all about the bragging rights to say, hey, I finished 5th place in this race. Obviously, you're gonna get the haters and say, well, why weren't you 3rd?
Rest of this race so far as well, we're not expecting pit stops for sure.
I would say no, we're not gonna expect any pit stops from anyone anymore, unless someone finds out, shoot, I short pitted by 1 lap or something like that. Then we're gonna see someone pitting, but other than that, we should be pit free to the end of the race.
So, 25 minutes remaining in this event. Look at the track map at the top right-hand side of the screen. P number 1, lots of clear track as well. Who's in P15? That guy's got a lot of... James Johnson has got a lot of clear track up ahead of them as well. They're heading towards... they're on the Almond Straight right now. But for the likes of the drivers in P2, Kevin Heijnen, they suffered from that penalty earlier. And they're now driving to a P2 position. And they'll be all untouched there. Jordovic, though, trying to challenge. Do those two work together, Stefan, and say, hey, P2 and 3 don't matter, you know? Let's just try and get that invitational slot to the next Sebring 12 hours in March.
Position always matters. It doesn't matter what race or what the outcome is. You're gonna qualify second, or you're gonna qualify third. It's that thing. I qualified second in this race. It's all about the bragging rights. You have something that you can brag a bit more about than a third place.
Jordovic is in third, like you said. We know what the other thing is. If these two battle it out and something goes wrong for Schoonfield, you know what? I'm not going to say that because it's going to be a commentator curse. But if anything goes wrong, touch wood for them, then it will be for the race lead. We saw that in Malaysia 2016 in Formula One. You know, Ricciardo and Verstappen battling, and Hamilton's engine just blew out that season, probably for the 70th time.
True, yeah. The race ain't over till it's over, as the saying goes. And yeah, Arne Schoenfeld, yes, he might be leading by 46.5 seconds, but one big mistake that cost him the race, and suddenly we ain't gonna talk about Arne Schoenfeld who won his race, but about Kevin Heijnen or Goran Djordjevic who won the race.
I like it. So, remaining minutes of this event right now. Here are the drivers to look out for. Heijnen and Jordovic, P2 and P3. Rest of the field down the order, of course, as well. Magic Miljanic in P7, ahead of his teammate Michi Hoyer in P8. Barclay in 9th. Josh Hoary in the 10th position. Those are your drivers in some close scraps, of course, as well. Mike Boyd is into the pit lane. Tim Neunendorf jumps back into that car, of course, as well, but they're all the way down the order in P24. So still 24 cars out there, which is good to see. But, of course, as well, who, out of your DNF, if you look at the DNF list now, Stefan, this could be the hardest question of the day. Which of those drivers do you think could have finished the highest up there had they not been involved in a crash? Or very hard question.
Erhan Jajowski for sure. He crashed out of second. Molana would have probably been up there. Everyone else was around the P10 spot, but yeah, these two guys, Erhan Jajowski and Andika Rama Molana, those two guys, they probably would have fought for that P2, P3.
Schoenfeld, though, untouched. He's had a good race, hasn't he? What else have you been impressed by from both he and his co-driver, of course, in the piloting that vehicle?
Well, first of all, obviously the pace. They just showed incredible pace, alien like pace so far. Clean race. We hadn't had a single scrap to report about them. Not a single mistake. We didn't see them spin out or go off track or whatnot. So yeah, just incredible performance. They're incredibly consistent. No mistakes. The lap times, they're incredibly consistent. So overall, just an impressive performance.
Heijnen second, Jordovic third. That battle now creeping in closer and closer as well. Heijnen, last lap, a 2-minute 1.5. We'll have a look and see his lap time across the line this time around. But for Jordovic, he was 0.4 faster last lap around. Here they are through Sunset Bend. for one of the few final times, possibly the 9th or 10th time for this race, or 10 times remaining to go through this corner. Heijnen will come across the line and set a 2-minute 1.4. Now compare that to Jordovic, 2-minute 1.2. So in 2 laps there, 0.6 of a second, Stefan, gained by Goran Jordovic. And now he's in the slipstream as well, and that lap time will creep down lap after lap.
Yeah, and as you said, we still have about 21 minutes remaining in this race, so Goran here still has quite a lot of time to plan his move, to get up there to Kevin. And Kevin, it's a lot of time that he still has to defend from Goran, but the longer he can keep... Oh, big slide there from Goran on the throttle there. But as long as Kevin can stay in front or far enough in front of Goran so he can keep out of the attacking range of Goran, the smaller the window gets for Goran and the easier it's going to be for Kevin to defend that second place.
He's getting closer though, isn't he? He's creeping in. We need Jaws music or something playing, something scary as he creeps in lap after lap. Visually though, he looks so far away. It looks like he's got an eternity to make up on Heijnen, but there is just about 20 minutes remaining in this event, so plenty of time. Maybe I'm getting a bit too excited.
Time is, it's all depending, like, the gap. If we would still have 3 hours remaining, we would be talking about a close battle here. But since we're only just 20 minutes remaining in this race, it is a lot of time he has to gain. And it really is a lot of time, no matter how you look at it. It's, what, 3 seconds right now? 2 seconds right now? So he really has to start creeping in soon. Otherwise, he will make it for himself very hard to pass Kevin, or even to get to the rear of Kevin.
And the good news is, like we said, you can see the track map. P2 and P3 have a lot of clear air up ahead, so lap cars will not get in the way of this battle here today, which is a good sign, like we said. But behind them, well, look at P24 right now, how close Tim Neunendorf is. Neunendorf is a driver who was in P4 earlier on in this race, suffered some issues, of course, both he and his teammate Mike Voigt. And now they might be trying to unlap themselves. So it's the opposite issue that could be occurring.
Yeah, it's Tim, when they pitted, when Tim got back into the car, he also took fresh tires. So he's on incredibly fresh tires compared to these two. So you might actually see Tim trying to overtake Goran, and that would cost Goran very dearly.
Certainly could. I don't know if he'll do that, though. That could be an interesting aspect to come. So at the end of the race, ironically, you're not really worrying about lapped cars and blue flags. You're worrying about the opposite. People trying to unlap themselves from you. Tommy Jansen's DNF from the race just now from an accident. So issues for Tommy Jansen towards the end of this race.
Yeah, once again, another time Tony Jansen, the race takes a turn to the worse for him. So that remains now with 23 cars here racing. We had a full 40-car grid to start with, but to go back to Tim Neundorf, it's really gonna be interesting what he decides to do, because yes, he is faster, but do I really want to interfere with this battle and take put someone at risk to lose more time, or eventually worse, because of potential mistakes that I could do?
Yeah, that's something to consider, of course. And you know what I love? I know it's been a 3-hour race and this should happen, but the fact that still 13 cars on the lead lap is a good sign to see, as Jordovic right now is dealing with Neunendorf all over the rear end of him. What would you do if you're in Tim Neunendorf's situation? I wouldn't unlap myself. I'd just take a second pit stop and just... You're 2 laps behind P23, so you just avoid the controversy, That's what I'd want to do.
Yeah, I would just sit back, relax, and enjoy those last few laps of the race, but bring it home. No matter where you're gonna come out after the pit stop, you're still gonna be behind someone or in front of someone. So you're still gonna be in the way, so to speak. But as of right now, he's not endangering someone. He's not blocking someone. So yeah, just stay back. Enjoy the what ifs while you're driving down Almond Strait, and yeah, just bring it home.
So, chat, with 15 minutes remaining, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch, send in your driver of the day. Just vote. And you can't vote for Max Verstappen. It has to be somebody else. Anybody in this field here today in the 3 hours of Sebring, give us your thoughts, who you think your driver of the day is. Who would you give it to, Stefan, so far with 15 minutes remaining?
Oh, it's hard.
The team of the day.
It's hard. Honestly, if Tony Janssen wouldn't have run into some problems, he would have been a strong contender for that.
Team of the day maybe is easier for you?
Yeah,
Instead of picking one
team
driver?
of the day, most definitely first place team of Arne Schoenfliet and Carosona. I would even say and give the driver of the day to Carosoni, because he was so much faster than everyone else. Even I think he even put the fastest lap of the car. So yeah, I think he is my driver of the day here.
I like it. So, 15 minutes remaining in this event. I'm thinking I may pick... I like these driver of the days. Matt Beavis, apparently, some of these drivers really love Matt Beavis for driver of the day, all the way up from P30. That's correct. Matthew Beavis had a great race so far. I do like Matt Beavis' opportunity, but then again, I mean, if you did start P1 and you are on Schoolfield or his teammate, of course, as well, they couldn't really improve on their position. Those two are definitely in contention for driver of the day, of course, too. But nevertheless, just getting distracted now because there are certainly battles coming into play towards the end of this event. Hoyer's done a good job of staying solid in that 8th position, but he is, well, the driver behind of Nico Barclay creeping closer and closer as this race progresses now in the closing stages. Heijnen, Jordovic, those two, no difference between the two. Everything's remaining stagnant in these final few laps. We want to see someone crack under pressure. We want to see someone pile the pressure on.
Yeah, it's everything is split out a little bit. Goran is also starting to fade away from Kevin. So that is Kevin Heijnen, obviously. So that is starting to lose attraction here. Let's see who is close, who is not close. Nico Barclay and Michi Hoyer are actually within a second of each other. So they're close together. Wojtala and Milnik are somewhat close together, about 1.5 seconds between those two. But yeah, the battle for P8 right now is our closest battle on the track.
Yeah, and Hoyer, who has been in a few places this race, as I said, doing a solid job towards the closing stages, just defending that position as well. So 23 cars possibly to take to the finish flag at the most once the checkered flag waves. It's a bit disappointing, isn't it, now towards the end of the race that the battles aren't as close as we would have hoped. They were a lot closer through that early stages, of course, and through the middle stages as well, but now the field just, it seems like drivers just can't seem to get close to one another.
Yeah, obviously drivers are getting exhausted after 3 hours. And then we also had some penalties, spreading out the field a little bit with speeding under code 80. So yeah, drivers had a few problems too, taking them out of contention. So yeah, attrition and endurance and all of that stuff played a big role in how this field looks right now.
So how does an event like this, the 3 hours of Sebring, the prelude to that 12-hour event, how does it prepare you to a race that's going to be 4 times longer?
Well, if you're going to take if you're one of the top 3 guys and you're going to take, once again, the GT3 and you're going to stay with your car, you already know, hey, I really like the car behavior under that condition. while doing that, or I didn't like it there while having that track conditions. So you already quite good know where you have to still improve your setup, or where you might have to dial back a few things to make it work better. But overall, you're gonna know how are you gonna play out during that race. How are you gonna go fatigued, or are you gonna go fatigued, or can you go longer? Stuff like that.
Yeah, I like that. And also understanding other drivers around you as well, trends, personalities, driving styles. So many other things you can understand as well. Lessons learned, like you make a mistake here, isn't that one of them too? Like, you might spin at, let's say, Tower Bend or something. And then you're like, oh, maybe I'll just back off the throttle during practice or stuff like that. So still a month's time till that event. Plenty of time to practice, 12 hours of action. Is the approach different to that event as well? More of a focus on race pace, obviously?
I don't think
still the
so.
same.
At least for me, it wouldn't change. Some drivers it might change. But you're still gonna put on the same tires. You're still gonna race the same car, so to speak. So it's not too much different. Preparation wise, it might be different though, because you suddenly don't just either take 1 or 2 stints, but you suddenly have to drive 3 stints or 4 stints, 5 stints, 6 stints, even if you're just driving with 2 drivers in a 12-hour race. So preparation is gonna change, but the actual how you attack the event is probably gonna be the same.
So we'll look out for that as well, and keep in tune with these drivers on Facebook, Twitter. Where else can you follow drivers? Instagram, Discord. You can't really follow drivers on Discord, but you can probably chat to them and just seek into their preparation and how they go about all these events. Racing is, I don't know about you, Stefan, but sometimes racing is like 1% of the time you spend on the wheel, whereas 99% is mostly the practice and the preparation almost.
Yeah, no, it is always like that. Practice makes perfect, but too much practice is bad for you. So you have to start knowing what do you need to do in practice to get better, where can you improve, and what do you have to improve about your practicing to make you faster in race. Because if practice doesn't help you, then you're wasting your time practicing.
So can we announce an unofficial driver of the day now? Because I think I have the answer.
Sure, go ahead.
I think a lot of people have voted for Matthew Beavis in P5.
I mean, his drive is impressive from 30th to 5th, so he is quite a high contention there for the driver of the day.
That's great. Good stuff from Matthew Beavis. Did a great job so far as well. Started this race from the back end of the order. Good to see a driver of the day that wasn't either Rio Harriento or Max Verstappen for once, which is great. And we finally get Matthew Beavis, who's driven splendidly today. On Skooldveld as well, he has driven a phenomenal event so far. It looks boring so far for Skooldveld, and that means you've had a great race because you have had minimal drama, not so much action. You've just been quick, speedy. It's been beautiful to watch. And that's why I think, when Stefan, they say, oh, it looks boring up ahead, there's not much action. I think it looks beautiful when you're driving as well as him. Minimal mistakes and just quick.
Yeah, the only 2 times we had drama with that car was at the start, when there was some question about if he is gonna stay ahead of P2, and then when he gave the car over to his teammate, when his teammate did overtake back for first. And that was the only drama that we were able to report from that car. So, yeah, as a leader, that's exactly the race you want. Just no problems at all, no dramas, no issues, no nothing.
It's been a good race so far. So we're just creeping into 5 minutes remaining in this event. Let's go through the field so far, just to round out before we're heading into the closing stages. Arne Skooldveld leads the field into P1 by 50 seconds, almost a minute's advantage on P4. Splitting Roy de Munich in P4 are both Kevin Heijnen and Goran Jordovic. Those two have been within 1 or 2 seconds of each other, but no scrap has taken place. No fight, no battle, no charge, no position swap in these final stages for those 2 drivers. Matthew Beavis, our unofficial driver of the day until we count votes. Who knows how many spam bots were just spamming his name in the chat. He was in P5. Alex Woitala in the 6th position now. He's in a very good battle right now between himself and Magic Milanek here as they go through the first sector of the racetrack. We'll keep an eye on that when we head back to the battles. Rest of the top 10 includes Hoyer, Barclay, and Josh Hoare. Rest of the field on screen, the likes of Jimmy Nisula, Turka Hakkinen, and Luca D'Amelio, the final drivers on that lead lap. There are 23 drivers out there still on the racetrack, still racing away. But back to this battle for P6. Magic Milanek here through turn 7. He's creeping in closer and closer to Woitala for a final position change in the closing stages.
Yeah, and also interesting development behind, because the guys behind are also closing in. Hoyer, Barclay, Hoare, they're all closing in on that battle for P6. So we might see something developing between those 5 cars yet again.
Where's Milanek going to make the move, right? He's going to make it either... Where's the best spot towards the end of the race? The hardest spot for a driver to defend?
Well, the best spot is always the last corner, because it's the last opportunity to make a pass. But Cunningham Tower is where things that pop up, but you always have then the complex of Geneviève and Le Mans at the end, where one mistake and you're gonna be in big trouble down Allman Straight and into Sunset Bend. So, but yeah, it's your typical overtaking spot. Tower, if you can do that and then get away, as Heichnen pits. Oh yeah, he did pit. He's just out of pit lane. He's now in 5th.
So Heichnen now from that 2nd position. Must have been a fuel issue for sure, because something's gone wrong there. Have a look at Milanek here in these final few minutes as well. Milanek searching for the 6th position on Woitala, but no move there for the both of them. But the drama there, Stefan, is that Heichnen, from an invitational slot to head to the 12 Hours of Sebring in a month's time, has demoted himself to 5th.
Yeah, and that puts Roy de Munch into 3rd place, and we saw his teammate in quite a lot of scraps. So yeah, these guys are gonna be all smiles right now in that pit lane and out of that helmet.
Wow, so late race drama and action. Oh goodness, and there's only less than 3 minutes remaining, so definitely not what I expected, but we could see other drivers as well do that in quite some time right now in these final couple of minutes, possibly, Stefan.
Yeah, we have to be looking out now for everyone that did pit under P80. Sorry, no, code 80, not P80. But yeah, we have only 3 minutes remaining. So I'm guessing about 2, maybe 3 more laps, and then we're already done with this race.
So, still waiting for these final couple of laps here. Heichnen has Beavis up ahead and Roy de Munich. I don't think he's going to catch any of them. So that's the day done. Jordovic now into the 2nd position. Schoenvliet is in 1st. Well, where's he going to cross the line? How much time do we have remaining? There's still less, yeah, so you can see at the top of your screen, there's still plenty of time for Schoenvliet. He's going to fit in a couple more laps as well. So 2 to go possibly for Arne Schoenvliet. So right now, this would be the white flag waving, I presume, Stefan, for Arne Schoenvliet.
I think that is what Jimmy said there as he came on the race control communications there. So yeah, Milanek, if he wants that P6, then he has to get moving.
He does. He's got to make a move soon, so we'll keep an eye on him as Schoenvliet receives the white flag. Milanek right now. This is a possible move into turn 7. Searching for the inside. There's nothing there. He has to pull back onto the racing line, of course, as well. Have a look at Michi Hoyer close behind his teammate. I think he's a bit too far to to rectify his issue of falling down the order early on in the field. He's going to remain in P8. But for Arne Schoenvliet, he's coming towards turn 6 for the final time, Stefan, and it has been a splendid race from both he and the team.
Yeah, we can't talk enough about how good the race was, because I don't think you can put on a better race than these two did.
Brilliant stuff from Schoenvliet. He's got a few more corners to go. He's driven just a remarkable event so far, and we'll still keep an eye on the rest of those battles between Milenik and Moitala. Oh, there's a car off as well. That's Lazaros Flipakos, excuse me. Oh, he's on the racing line. There's issues there. He's lucky he got out of the way, so hopefully he doesn't get in the way of the leader right now. That could prove some drama towards the end of this event. But it looks like your top 5 will remain the same on this final lap unless anything goes wrong. Alex Woitala in 6th, and Milenik are still in a little bit of a battle, but it's all about Arne Schoenvliet, this man on screen who's coming towards the Ulmen Straight for the final time this event. He's driven remarkably. Arne Schoenvliet, with one more corner to go, will take victory of the prelude. The 3 hours of Sebring, the prelude to the 12-hour event next month. What an event it's been from Schoenvliet and the team. He takes victory at Sebring, and a remarkable victory it is.
Yeah, put your hands together for your race winner of Arne Schoenvliet. And we have to wait quite a bit to congratulate second place on their homecoming, because they're 54 seconds behind them. But the battle for P6 is also still on.
Still is on right now. We're still racing as Schoenvliet celebrates with some burnouts. But have a look at Milenik. Let's follow this for the remaining few corners. He's going to be pushing to the limit. Woitala pushes deep here, heading into the middle sector as well. Is that going to put him offline? He picks it up together on the exit and gets away with that. But Milenik now through turn 13 at Tower. He's creeping in closer and closer. Oh, goodness. Oversteer on the exit as well. Don't spin it in these final corners, fellas.
Yeah, there's also a lapped car ahead of them. Who is that? That's Mantas Rekus. Hopefully he's not going to play any part of this fight between Alex and Maciej. Let's see who gets a better run out of Le Mans. That's the last overtaking spot coming up now for Maciej, as he is creeping closer already. He got a better exit.
So while this is all taking place, it looks like Milenik will spot his way into P6. Door banging and contact as well between the two. Woitala's turned around. Hoyer's allowed through in a P7. Oh, Woitala's going to be fuming. Loses the 3rd position, of course, as well. Oh, he loses the 4th one. He's all the way down into 10th at the end of the line. So across the line. Oh, we'll have a look at the race results in just a second's time. But Milenik in a 6th and the other ACR car of Hoyer into 7th. Woitala will be fuming.
He will be fuming in very deed. Let's see what he does here as he goes up, flashes his lights there, infuriated. And yeah, he is not happy with that situation whatsoever.
So Woitala, yeah, definitely not happy. He's out of there. So let's have a look at your final race results for the prelude, the 3 hours of Sebring. Arne Schoenvliet wins. And of course, 3 hours of racing action. It wins by 50 seconds. And of Goran Jordovic, who popped his way into the 2nd position. Goran and the team started this race from 8th and ended up on the podium. They receive an invitation along with Roy de Munich and the team towards the 12 Hours of Sebring event next month on the 23rd of March. Outside of your top 3, but still a splendid result, goes to Matthew Beavis, who was your unofficial driver of the day, of course. Kevin Heijnen, he could have been a driver that should have found his way, for sure, into the top 2 or top 3 into those invitational slots. But at the end of the day, that late pit stop, possibly for fuel issues, demoted him to 5th. Maciej Milenik, we saw that late race battle along with Alex Woitala, came home in the 6th position, along with his teammate Hoyer in 7th. Josh Hoare and Jimmy Nasula promoted themselves to 8th and 9th. Voitala ended up in 10th. That is your top 10, Stefan. And unfortunately, I have to go right now. I have another commitment I'm trying to run to as soon as we can get out of here. But we will hand the rest of the results and post-race interviews to you, of course, as well for the rest of this event. So I hope you enjoyed my voice for the time being.
Yeah, it was very great here. This race, the show they put on, and obviously commentating with you. Always enjoying to hear people from the other side of the world. But yeah, as you can see, the rest of the results is right now scrolling through your screen there. Already a lot of cars didn't finish. We only had 23 finishers in total, sadly. Tim Neudorf being 5 laps in total behind your race winner. So I am trying to get confirmation here. Are we trying to get our race winners in here for the interview? Or are we closing up here? Well, it sure does seem like they want to come in. So, but yeah, guys, I have also to thank you, everyone watching this broadcast here on Studio 397 YouTube page or Twitch on rFactor Live, as our winners are getting ready to join us here in the booth. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this race as much as we here in the commentary booth, as Arne Schoenfliet and Ricardo Corassari now join us here in the booth, as we welcome them in our little, small, cozy booth. Hope you're all having enough room here. Arne, let's get to you first. Impressive qualifying performance from you, and then taking that car quite fast away, or that position quite fast away from everyone else. How did that first stint feel to you?
Well, first of all, qualifying went good, went well. We were well prepared. The competition stuff that happened before was a good preparation for qualifying as well. And then, yeah, the first stint, we tried to keep the tires alive, don't push from the start, and I could pull a gap quite easily for Erhan, and then he made a mistake. After that was just more managing tire for the first stint, and then give the car back to Ricky.
Yeah, do you feel Erhan would have been a threat for you? Because until he made his mistake, he was just 2-3 seconds behind you. So he was really keeping pace with you.
Yeah, he was really keeping pace with me. I'm not sure if he would have been able to keep that pace as well. We'll never know because he crashed, and I probably guess that's the reason why he crashed. He was just pushing too hard and overdriving the car a little bit. But it was a fun race and went well. We had some competition, and that's nice. So yeah, I'm hoping we can go on to the next race and do it again.
Yeah, indeed. And as you said, handing over the car to Ricardo there for the second stint. And yeah, you finished that second stint there, or sorry, you took over and you had to overtake someone.
Yeah.
How did you feel, chasing for the first time someone in this race?
No, well, it felt pretty okay. I was kind of scared because I didn't have so much time to have a proper preparation, and I generally don't have problem, but I just want to bring in, some consistency, show myself that I'm okay on the. I was quite aligned with Arne, but of course, to stay with him, I had to really work my behind off. Sorry for that, but he was really impressive here. And but yeah, in the end, especially yesterday, I got into the pace. So when it came on the race to have that 2-3 flying laps to ensure to jump in front, then it was, I don't want to say kind of easy, but it felt okay. Nothing unbelievable, I have to say. Also, the tire advantage I have to the car in front was kind of big, and I was really able to place the car wherever I wanted to place it. So no, it felt quite okay, honestly. But unfortunately, these laps just costed me quite a lot on the tires for the final part. I was able to keep the pace between mid 2 minute as well, which was our target. But then when it came down to 60 liters remaining, so almost half tank, my wear was not really optimal, and I started suffering a bit more, a bit too much understeer, which was really making me losing confidence. So it could have been a bit better, but in the end it was really fine, and there was no, after all the great job Arne did, there was no necessity to overdoing it. So I just played safe, and it was fine. We just had a bit of a moment with the Code 80 because he was actually joining me for the driver change, and we were really undersized. But when we saw that we were 3 minutes short on the fuel, if we would have pit, we decided just to go straight and make sure that we went straight to the end. And even without the final Code 80, it was the right choice to do, honestly.
Yeah, we saw a lot of people taking the gamble with the Code 80, pitting under Code 80 and actually paying the price for it and having to pit a second time, or in Tony's case, underfueling twice there. So he actually had to make 2 extra pit stops on that. Now, we didn't see any problems with that, but did you ever run into some problems with traffic in this race?
No, not really big, honestly. I think that I saw a massive and respect of the blue flag, and especially in the right way. So not cars just hitting the brakes like 100 meters before on the start on the racing line. Just moving outside gently, and everything was, in my opinion, handled very perfectly. I would really like to see that also. For 12 hours to the VAC would be very nice, in my opinion, even if I'm not having really big trouble, to be honest. But really, traffic for me was very good today. I don't know the rest of the field, but from my experience was just perfect. Nothing to add.
Well, guys, one last question before I let you off the line here. Anyone you want to thank you who made this race possible, or this win possible for you guys?
Who starts?
You go ahead. Go ahead.
I go. No, well, honestly, I just want to thank, of course, my teammate first for inviting me. That was a gesture of massive respect, in my opinion. We were very good teammates last year. Unfortunately, I think we had a bit of extra luck that saw our Virtual Endurance Championship ending badly. But if I have no doubts in him, and he's always my reference on track, even if when we drive together or when we face each other. And honestly, if we want to laugh about that, I can after this race, I can't realize if he's a bit more pain in the ass when he has to race with me or versus me, because when both are kind of quick, you always want to go powerful a bit more than your teammate. So it gets kind of interesting. But yeah, no, joke apart, really him for first, and second, all of you guys here in the room. I think the race is have been very nicely managed. In my opinion, the commodities were necessary because cars without the rear wing can just jump away in a second. It's not easy, and it's okay in my opinion, to go like that. Really, 100%. And also the streaming was, in my opinion, very, very nice to see. The race at the beginning was very nice to look. But I think already from the comment, and yeah, nothing else. Just hope that this line is going to be kept for the future. I think that this software has a very big potential. It's not the first time I say it. I think it's the one with the best potential possible. It just needs to be, exploited a bit more.
Well, I have not much to add. Actually, I also want to thank Ricky for joining me in this race. Yeah, as he said, we are equally fast, so it's fun having him with me, and it's also fun racing against him. So I want to keep it like that. I also want to thank Studio 397 for providing us with R-Factor 2 and providing us with this great content of these GT3 cars, providing us with a nice stream and a nice setting to race. I hope they keep up their work and keep pushing to provide nice races and nice everything we need, so we can enjoy ourselves driving and racing here.
Well, everyone, put your hands one more time together for your 2 race winner of Riccardo Corazzari and Arne Schönfleet there. And I'm very sad, but that is it for today here for this broadcast. I, for myself, also have to thank you a few guys. Obviously, first of all, Studio 397 for bringing me on here onto this broadcast to cast for them. Obviously, also have to thank my partner in crime here, Jonathan Simon, and everyone who is watching. Yes, exactly, you guys out there, may it be evening, morning, night, wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in on Twitch or YouTube. I'm Stefan Schlacker, and I am out from Sebring. Thank you so very much for watching.